when I set out to work on my social skills for decades, I had multiple different ROIs, okay? Say the word multiple ROIs with me. Multiple. Okay, now when I say this, if somebody's new, I understand that the idea of multiple ROIs, return on investment, okay? I understand that if you're new and maybe you're lonely, you don't care about multiple ROIs, right? You're in a coping scenario, and the only reason why you're doing this is because you want some companionship and you're lonely, you want some intimacy, et cetera, right? I get that. I totally understand that, right? But you gotta understand, for me, I've done this 25 years, okay? So for a lot of you guys, you're in here, you're not even 25 years old. Is there anyone here under 25 years old? Some of you guys are not even 25 years old. So you've got to understand that I'm 46 right now, and I've been doing this 4 or 5 nights a week since I'm 22. So I've done this for close to a quarter of a century. That's not normal, okay? That's not a normal thing to go and do. And people will say to me, Owen, how in God's name are you still doing this after a quarter of a century? Like, do you get bored of clubs? You know, do you feel like the girls that you meet out are vapid? Or like, what are you getting out of this, okay? And quick question about it?
You're committed to mastery.
I am committed to mastery for sure. And it's also that I want to do a great job for my clients. So that is a part of it. I feel if I'm going to receive money for teaching somebody something, I have an obligation to do the best job that I can. But I'd even go a little bit deeper because I have my own personal reasons for it too. So it's a mix of both. So this is the best way that I explain it to you, okay? Most things in life, you'll go through this phase of what you call codependence, independence, interdependence. Okay, so say that word with me. Codependence, independence, interdependence. Okay, so for example, maybe when you first get a girlfriend, I make an analogy of this of learning social skills. Maybe when you first get a girlfriend when you're young, you're very codependent. And then you're all about her and desperate for her. Later you realize having a girlfriend is retarded. I don't need to have a girlfriend. I want to do my own thing. Later you realize having a girlfriend is awesome, but from a more elevated place where you don't even need her at all, but you could actually enjoy having her in your life. And weirdly, codependence would be a way of looking at it. Codependence is like 0 plus 0 equals 0. Independence is like 1 plus 1 equals 2. Interdependence is like 1 plus 1 equals 11. Guys, what time is it right now?
Late 2:05.
Okay, last 2 people here. How many people were at the free tour this weekend?
Packed. Hundreds.
Packed. Every seat was taken.
It was a big event. Did I say here and chat you guys until the very end, give you a lot of personal attention?
Yeah.
Would you recommend for people to come out to the free event?
100%.
Did you learn a lot being here?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, the next one coming up is Washington, D.C., and then Boston, San Diego, Orlando, Miami, Charlotte, Atlanta, Nashville, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle, Salt Lake, Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, okay, and New York. So if you'd like to come, we're just wrapping this one up. This is a good one. We introduce you to a mastermind group. You make a ton of friends. How much personal feedback did I give you guys this weekend?
Enough feedback to last the whole year.
Good shit, bro. Yeah, so I'm excited to see you guys at future free events. And if you want to come to a free event, just get out here. They're a lot of fun. This is a beautiful one. I had a great experience. Click the link below, get signed up, and we'll see you at the upcoming free event. So when you're in a codependent relationship, I'm going to make an analogy of the social skills. When you're in a codependent relationship with your significant other, it's like you're a 0, they're a 0, and you both combine a 0 because you both are like totally dependent on each other, and you wind up leaving a bit bitter, okay? You wind up leaving bitter. Later, when you're independent, you can date somebody, and if they're adding to your life, they're adding to you, then you're totally happy with them, right? But if they subtract from your life, they begin to remove value from your life, you're going to rapidly cut them off because you realize they're not adding to your life. That's independence. Interdependence is where, believe it or not, it's actually what you give to your significant other that is the value. Now, that doesn't mean to date a leech. That doesn't mean to get in a toxic relationship. That doesn't mean to be a people pleaser. But within the framework that your significant other is like a cool person and like a pretty elevated person as well. So what'll happen is you're with somebody else who's also interdependent. Like, have you guys ever been in a codependent relationship where you're a 0, the other person's a 0, and it's both just toxic? You ever been in that? I've certainly been in that. Okay, so you know what that's like, right? So what's the natural way to kind of get out of that? What's the natural way to get out of that? Break up, right? And what's the next evolution? If you became dependent on somebody, what's the next evolution that you're going to go to? It's basically to be very independent, right? Fuck that shit. You know, money over bitches. You know, focus on yourself. Build yourself up, right? Well, in reality, do you guys think that human beings are best off like that? Or are we best off to have children? What do you think we're wired for? Children. We're wired to have families, right? So we're actually better together, but from a more elevated place, okay? People that have, you go from codependence, you travel through independence, where you tell them to fuck off, and then you can go to interdependence, where you don't need them at all anymore whatsoever, but there's still a benefit to actually having that relationship, okay? So if you want to know what it's like for me being 46 to be in a relationship with a woman, where I'm at now is I could get over a breakup in about a day and a half. Now, that sounds a little bit psychopathic. Like, if someone tells me they can get over a breakup in a day and a half, I'm like, are you a psychopath? Like, that's not good. Don't get me wrong, guys. I've had breakups that took me years to get over. I'm not psycho, okay? Maybe psycho in some other way, but I feel a breakup, or I have felt breakups in my life. But when you're 46 and you've been there and done that, what do you think you feel after a breakup with like a really fun relationship? What do you think the predominant emotion is?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. You're just like, wow, like, how do you feel after you saw Avatar 3 in 3D? Like, dude, that was badass. Like, that was a badass movie. Now I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna do some other shit, and maybe in another month I'll see another movie, right? You're just looking for, you don't need to keep seeing Avatar 3, Avatar 3, only Avatar 3, right? You're not stuck on Avatar 3. Might have been a great movie, but maybe there's Marty Supreme might come out, you know? Let me get to Marty Supreme later. I got a lot of commentary on that. But anyway, so the point being is, like, you look forward to the next movie. I could have a breakup now with a girl that I was deeply in love with, and then because I'm not codependent, I would get over it within a day, not because I'm dogging her out, not because I'm a psycho, and not because I couldn't open up. In that relationship, I might have opened up very deeply. I think that when you're strong, you can be more in love with somebody than when you're weak. You can be so in love, like so deep, so in love, so connected, heart wide open, really open to them, like really, 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 really deeply open to them. And you can do that because you know you're not going to get badly, badly hurt. Doesn't mean you wouldn't get hurt at all. Thank you, brother. But you know that you won't get hurt that bad. Does that make sense, guys? Like, if you knew that it wouldn't hurt you, could you open up to a woman?
Yeah.
If you knew you could never get hurt, or no, at least not too bad, you know, not too bad. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of what it's like, right? You know, you're not afraid to really go deep with a girl. So you're not afraid to, like, really connect because you know it's not going to be a big deal. But let me show you the difference. Codependent, you guys break up, you're destroyed. You're demolished, right? And then you're like, fuck this shit, never again. I've got to become independent. I'm missing something. Independence, you don't feel the pain of a breakup, but it's because you never opened up in the first place. You never opened up at all. Interdependence, you actually opened up even more than when you're codependent, but you allow the changing of the seasons to occur, and you just have gratitude, and you go, man, that girl was really attractive, we had great sex, we had a lot of fun, she's really cool, and she'll always be a part of my soul. She's never gone. That woman's never gone. She's a part of me, I'm a part of her, she's never gone, and whatever happens, happens, you know? And look, if we're being honest, right, we're men, a couple women in this room, but mostly men in this room. Be honest, guys. Yeah, the breakup hurts, but when you get that next baddie, come on, you don't regret it. You never regret the breakup. You know, you never regret the breakup, okay? So, you know my point, right? You'll never regret the break. You know, you get that next baddie, you're like, you know what? I can live with that breakup, right? It's funny, like, as a man, even just meeting just one better girl for like an hour, you're like, I'm over it, right? You're good. So, you know, there's these guys called the Hodgsons that used to also get guys to simulate what it was like for your ex to be getting fucked, and that was they'd go like she's lying down, and they'd go like nuts hanging out, and then they'd go he's busting nuts in her, all kinds of nuts, and then guys would get like, oh, they get cured of their breakup pain. But anyway, she looked at us, the Hodgsons, those guys are crazy. But anyway, it's like really crazy shit. Like, I remember watching that after some of my breakup, I was like, oh, and then I was over it. So anyway, I remember another time I had a breakup with a girl that I was really into, and then I saw her out, and I was thinking about her a lot, and then I saw her out with another guy. Within 1 second, I was over it, right? It's amazing how as a man, when you're like some other guy's nuts in her, you just let go. You're like, I'm done. I don't know whose kid that's gonna be, so I'm out of here. So, like biologically, I mean. So anyway, so codependence, independence, interdependence, you can come at it from a different angle. That is personally what I've seen
when people learn social skills, they come at it from a different level. So most people who first learn from me, on average, when they are initially learning, not later, but initially when they learn from me or my friend Michael, who will be here today, they, again, at the starting block, this is not where we're taking you, but when someone's starting, they may be a bit codependent. So they're like, Owen is like my Lord and Savior. Owen's going to change my life. They make it about me. Why do you guys think that when people are first learning, they make it about me? What do you think the reason why is?
Weak identity. They're empty.
What's that?
They're empty. Like they're the zero in that.
It's a denial of what? A denial of their own power and a denial and lack of integration of their own light. They're actually seeing their light via the subjects that we're covering here. They're seeing it, but they're not yet in a place where they can integrate that light into themselves. So they're externalizing it. So they take all their own inner potential that they know is there, and then they give that on me just because of some stuff I said in a YouTube video. I know this because that's how I felt for many of my mentors. I was a huge fan of, and am a huge fan of Kobe Bryant. I used to go to every single Lakers game in person that I could and sit as close as I could to the front row, or sometimes the front row, sometimes even floor seats. And I would just go watch Kobe because when I was in my late 20s and early 30s in LA, Kobe was the highest degree of excellence I'd ever seen in any craft. So I would go and watch Kobe Bryant in person, and I would model the way that he was operating, okay? Kobe will never die, by the way. So he's immortal. So the point being is, like, his energy is immortal, right? So the point being is, like Kobe's with us in this room right now. So the point being is, like, I'd watch Kobe, and I'd be, like, blown away with what Kobe was doing. I was even at Game 7 when he won his 5th championship against Boston. I was actually at the game. And so you'd watch Kobe, and you go, oh, wow, it's Kobe. But in reality, we all have that Mamba mentality capacity, right? We all have that inner Kobe. We actually all have that, but we don't give ourselves that credit. Doesn't mean we do it in basketball, right? That was his, path to mastery, but we all have our own path to mastery, but you externalize it. So initially you say, oh my God, it's Kobe, because you can't see that, you can't fully internalize that excellence in yourself. Over time, what you realize is that while Kobe has genetic gifts for basketball and whatnot, although to be fair, there's even players more gifted than him, he's better than them, we all have our own path to mastery that we have to uncover, and we can take the same approach to that Kobe Bryant took if we happen to choose. That's available to all of us, right? So then what will happen a lot of the time is, say that you're a kid, for example, and you're a fan of Kobe Bryant, and you have a Kobe Bryant jersey. You guys ever see somebody with a Kobe Bryant jersey? Yeah. Well, when you become independent and you see somebody wearing another man's name on their back, what do you think of that when you're independent? You got another man's name on your back. You're a billboard for that other man. How does that feel? Well, it feels like you're kind of in Kobe's frame, right? You're codependent for Kobe, or you're codependent for whoever you're a fan of, okay? And that same thing when you're studying social skills, when you see somebody who's new to the kind of content that we've taught over the years, and they start going out, start getting results, they're kind of like a fanboy, right? They're like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is my life. I love this. And, Owen's the man, and so on and so forth. Typically what will happen, and I've taught this 25 years, so I know the path, is that a lot of the guys that are the most into my stuff or that pedestalize me, I know, like when a guy comes up to me on the street or at an event and he's like, oh, and you're the fucking man, I love you. If it's too extreme, I know that within 18 months that guy's gonna hate me, okay? Funny enough. So that's why guys will say to me, like, how do you feel having like fans? I'm like, 80% of those fans are going to hate me within about a year and a half. And the reason why is because if they do what I'm showing them to do, they're going to rapidly come out of codependence and they're going to go into independence. Now, this is me venting a bit, if you don't mind. But what they're going to do, because I see it in their posts and stuff, is they're going to go, I used to follow Owen, but you know what I realize? It's all about being authentic, which is like what I teach. And then they go, it's all about just adding value, which is what I teach. And then they go, it's all about just getting out there and talking to people, which is what I teach. But for some reason, they'll think it's like they didn't learn that from me and that they learned some archaic form of social skills from me or something like that. And that basically that wasn't what I was teaching all along. And then they basically just make it like their thing. And I'd go, okay, all right, fine. In my mind, I'm like, that's fucking weird. Okay, so then I basically see that, right? And they'll go do that, and they'll go do their own thing for a while. Now, what other thing do we see in human development? What are those years where kids do that from their parents? What is that? That's called being a teenager, okay? So for example, my son Dylan, I bring him out not to do anything too wild or crazy or anything, but I bring him out just to be social, nothing else, okay? and I bring out my son just to be social, and he's 14 right now. Now, if I go and talk to people with him, can anybody guess what he does? Okay, Dylan is the nicest kid to me at all times. He will never be mean to me under any circumstance. He's a very respectful son, and he's out here this weekend. You guys will meet him probably. He'll probably come out tonight. But if I try to talk with someone with him, dude, it's hilarious. I've never seen the side of him. He'll look at me, he'll go, he'll be like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, and he'll be like, motherfucker, go away. I'm like, holy shit, right? Like, it's extreme, dude, right? He's like, get the fuck out of here. I've never seen him talk to me like that in his life, right? And when he would first do it, I thought he's kidding. I'm like, He's like, I said get the fuck out. I'm like, Dylan, like, dude, chill. He's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, okay. I'm like, holy shit. He's never like, me and him are homies. Like, we hang out and stuff. I'd never seen him act like that. Why do you guys think he's doing that? Yeah, he can't control it. Like, he's like twitching and shit. Like, I never seen Dylan like twitching. He's like, get the fuck out. Why do you guys think he does that? I have to get my friends to mentor him. I can't mentor him. Yeah. What's that? Is it genetic? That's my fault. Yeah, I actually say that to his mom a lot. Whenever my kids do shit fucked up, I go, that's you. As a joke. What do you think is causing him to do that, based on what we're talking about here?
He's being independent.
Can you guys catching it?
Yeah.
What would happen if he's just out there with me helping him? Why is it very important that he's doing that? It's very important. What are you guys saying? Based on what we're talking about. He's got to learn on his own. He can't have his dad. Like there's certain things like he's got to figure out. He knows his dad can't do this for him. He needs to go fail, to struggle through it. He's got to fight his way through it. That's just reality, right? So I took him up to maybe age 12, 13. Then at this age, he's got to basically, Dave Asprey actually said this. I don't know if this is true, but the health guru Dave Asprey, he says that teenagers will actively view their parents as retarded once they hit the age of 14 or 15 and could only learn from other adults. Apparently because when we were cavemen and cavewomen, it prevented inbreeding. So in other words, like if your son was just like in the main little tribe, or your daughter was in the main little tribe, they would just, maybe the kids would just start banging each other or something, right? So you needed it to where they would say, my parents were retarded, and they would go find other tribes to get advice, and then that would spread the DNA. You guys follow that? So that was another reason why. But I think that's one reason why. That's what Dave Asprey says. But the other reason why, so basically to create genetic diversity, the kids will temporarily think their parents are idiotic. Like everything out of their mouth, they think their parents they think is dumb. But in addition to that, it's also because they have to become independent. If you were to see my kids, you'd think that it's like, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My kids are almost nothing like me at all. Their personalities are not like me at all. They're completely their own people, 100%. And that was because, in my view, well, obviously it's because of them, but also because I encouraged that all along. Like, my kids have different political beliefs than me. They have different, hobbies than me. My kids are not trying to be public speakers. They're completely their own men. It's really interesting to watch. It's very different. I'll bring my son in this weekend, perhaps. You'll see. They're very, very different, right? So he's going through his independence phase, okay? So that's what I've seen with social skills, is that a guy can't get fully good until he goes through that phase where he says, no, I'm going to do this on my own without a guru. Now, I want to review I can sort of say this in broad strokes, but let's get specific. Let's drill down a bit. What are the specific things that somebody learning would go through when they would reject the content that I'm teaching and do it on their own for at least 2 or 3 years? What would they be going through? What changes would be being etched into their minds and energetic systems at that point in their nervous system? What are the changes?
Internal motivation, not needing to walk.
Louder.
Internal motivation, not needing a YouTube video to get what you need internally to go after your goals.
Yep, that's a big one. What else? Let's go. Come on, guys. If you're not going to answer, there's no point in being here. Like, give me some answers.
A lot of discomfort.
Discomfort, yeah. What else, guys? So what are the reasons why? What are they getting when they reject the content temporarily? What are they getting out of it?
Getting positive affirmation somewhere else.
Positive affirmation somewhere else. What else?
They become an authority on their own.
They can become an authority on their own. What else?
Proof of work.
Proof of work. What else?
They're going through their own journey.
Going through their own journey. What else?
Experiential understanding instead of just theoretical.
Experiential, although they were probably going out before as well. Let me show you what's actually happening, okay? What I did was I helped the newer person, and if you're new, then that is good, you're in the right place. I'm here to help you at all levels. I help the newer person within the paradigm of groupthink. So try to follow this. You have groupthink, and then you have seeing the world through your own eyes, okay? You have groupthink, you have seeing the world through your own eyes, okay? So when we're younger, we tend to operate through groupthink. We look to the group to tell us how to think. Now, the example that I've given of this in the past is, let's say that I do something that would be worthy of applause. You will notice in the room, there'll be only 2 or 3 guys at most that, try to follow this, guys. There'll be 2 or 3 guys at most that actively see when the right time to give an applause to a speaker is. The other 97% of the room will do this, because I know, because I'm up here on these audiences all the time. So they'll do this. Like as soon as they see the rest of the group doing it. You guys follow? So why are they doing that? What kind of loop is their brain in? What's going on with their brain? Yeah, they're trying to harmonize with the group. They're trying to fit in. They're socially pinging. A guy who makes movies who takes advantage of this is Sacha Baron Cohen with Borat, Bruno, where he can literally get people to say the craziest shit just by leading them, and they just say the craziest shit. Not to bring up a bad topic, but also in genocides, that's also the mechanism happening to an extent as well, where like you get some psychopathic leader that's just running around killing everybody, and then that just becomes the norm in the country, and then other people start copying it, right? And there's something called the Milgram experiment, which you could look up, which would basically aim to show why. Look up the Milgram experiment, which shows why people just bow down to authority and will even do horrible shit if an authority just tells them to. So basically, people will just do shit because the authority tells them to. By the way, for guys who think that you need looks and money to be successful in dating, pause and think about how dumb that is. If the Milgram experiment proved that if someone who's ultra confident leads, people will follow, like another man will follow, what does that mean in your dating life if you're ultra confident and lead? Hello? 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 Yeah, if you can get, if the Milgram experiment proved that you can get people to do the most fucked up shit imaginable just by being confident and leading, you can't get a date by being confident and leading, you know, especially when, you know, the feminine polarity likes a man who's strong and can lead. I mean, come on, that's just insane. So understand that is the most potent part of dating, is just that one component of just being the leader and people following your frame. That's the most important part of the whole damn thing. So anyway, so what happens is people are, for the most part, in groupthink, which literally means most people live out their entire lives inside groupthink. Literally, their whole life. They watch television, they live through the groupthink, they go through the whole narrative of the groupthink, and there's people that are kind of like consuming the groupthink, and then there's the leaders that are crafting the narrative, that are crafting reality. So you're either the creator of the reality, or you're just the consumer of the reality, thinking what you're supposed to think, and so on and so forth, okay? So, by the way, because I've taught attraction over the years, why do you guys think that this component of getting out of groupthink and seeing the world through your own eyes and having your own frame, why do you guys think that's so vital to creating attraction? What do you think that is? It's the whole damn thing, by the way. It's the whole damn thing. It's not just not needy. Guys. So guys, you know how most people think that getting better at creating attraction is about learning a technique? The major thing that makes you great at creating attraction is becoming the guy who doesn't fail the Milgram test. That's attraction in a nutshell. If you didn't fail the Milgram test, you are basically a 10. Okay? If you didn't fail the Milgram test, you could date supermodels. Literally. If you didn't fail the Milgram experiment. To review what the Milgram experiment is, a guy in a white coat brings people into a room and says, turn up the electricity and just do it because I told you to. And then there's a person in the room on a chair, and they start screaming, ow, ow! And then the guy's like, that guy's dying. Like, don't make me turn it up. And then the guy in the white lab coat's like, just turn it up, bro. He's fine. And it's like 90-something% of people will just literally go until they think the guy's dead. It's almost everybody. It's literally, you think you wouldn't do it? Think again. You think you wouldn't do it? Think it. I know all of you are like, I wouldn't do it. I would encourage you to spend a couple years wondering whether or not you do it, okay? So I know you won't listen. It's just one of those things that I'm probably can't truly penetrate for you guys, but truly, please listen to what I'm saying, okay? So basically what you have is that if you're the guy who would pass the Milgram experiment, in other words, they tell you to turn up the volume, the nozzle to electrocute the guy, you go, you're fucking stupid, I'm not doing that. you are the equivalent of a male 10. You are a male 10. Why is that? There's a reason. There's a very specific reason why. Can someone tell me what that reason is?
Because you're not falling into their frame.
Because you're not falling into their frame. And because you're not falling into their frame, what are you doing instead?
Good thing for yourself.
You're setting the frame. So in other words, you are the guy in the white lab coat now, not the guy in the chair. And then if you set the frame, what frame do you set?
Your frame.
Your frame. And what is your frame if you're good?
You're the leader.
That you're a 10, that you're the best option, that you're amazing, and that a lot of fun things should happen right now. Caught that? That's literally attraction in a nutshell. My program, Blueprint Decoded, was all about that epiphany. And it was about my journey coming out of groupthink myself and not pinging anymore. Now, I'm going to describe to you a little bit what pinging is so you can see it with a bit more clarity, and then I'm going to circle back to what I'm talking about, okay? Here's what we're doing all the time. Okay, so the first two premises that I want to throw at you, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to review it because, okay, there's certain things that when we teach it to you are so shocking and freaky that your brain will not allow you to process, okay? So let me give an example. Do you guys remember my old buddy Luke, who I taught with for many years? Yeah. Okay, so when Luke was 400 pounds, he had one of the best dating lives of any human you'd ever see. Okay, 400 pounds. My buddy Matt, if anyone here knows my buddy Matt, he weighs 300 and something, and that guy fucking crushes. He really does. He weighs 300 something pounds. How much do you think Matt weighs? What would you say?
Yeah, 330, I guess.
Yeah. What kind of, and you've only known him like here or there, little spurts. What kind of things have you seen him do?
It's like 3 girls a week, basically.
Yeah, 330 pounds, right? So when you guys see my friend Matt or Luke having results like that, another one, by the way, would be Neil Strauss. Neil Strauss, when he was going out a lot, was, I believe, about 5'6" and bald. And he has a very slight frame, and he has a very high-pitched voice. I kind of do too, to be honest. And you don't even need to be honest. So Neil, you see Neil go do, like Neil crushes it, guys. Like that's not bullshit. Like, and I say that as someone who has a lot of reason not to say that. If you've ever read his book, okay? So if I'm saying that, you know that that's a moment of honesty because he rips me to shreds in his book. And I'm telling you, Neil was very, very, very good. I mean, I learned a lot from that guy. And what I can say, like a lot, he's really good. And Luke also, who I also learned a lot from, he learned a lot from me too, is also amazing, okay? And Luke was doing that at about, I think he was about 380, okay? And I mean, man, like he'd stay at my house sometimes and it was like a revolving door, okay? And the things you'd hear from the other room would blow your mind because he's not quiet, okay? You know he's got a loud voice, right? So the things you'd be hearing from the other room all day long, morning till night, were pretty over the top. So from there, when you see a guy like Luke at 380 crushing it, do you guys understand that your brain won't let you process that? Like you know it, but you don't know it. Do you follow? Do you kind of process what I'm saying here? Like you see it, and then your brain kind of just views it like this cartoon character on the internet, like watching a movie or something. It's like a movie. It's not real to you, that a 400-pound man is like wiping the floor with your dumb ass. Okay? It's not real to you that little midget, baldy Neil Strauss can whoop your ass. That's not like he'll whoop your ass, bro. And that's not real to you. Your brain won't allow you to see that. And so, in truth, when you see something like that, not that I compare it to the Bible, but I'll just make it a much lesser analogy of the Bible. Like, a book like the Bible, okay, which is more extreme than what I'm talking about, if you read the Bible and you didn't cry, you didn't read the Bible. You dig? Like, if you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and you didn't start shaking and crying, and then you didn't have a hard time sleeping, and you didn't deeply fucking transform, you didn't read it. Okay? Your brain just viewed it like a story, and you didn't read it. That you don't need to be a Christian or even to believe that it's real. Just even understanding those books, as an atheist, you should be crying. As an atheist, as a full-on atheist who's like, this guy has never existed, you should be crying. That's how profound it is. So if you read it and you didn't see it that way, you didn't actually read it. In the same way, if you saw Luke at 380 whooping your ass, if you went to sleep that night and slept 8 hours, it didn't register, okay? It didn't hit home, okay? How incredible that is. What that means. Like, your brain should be like, what the fuck? What does that mean? What does that mean about my life? What does that mean about what I've been told? What does that mean about reality? What does that mean about everything if this happens? Like, if you see Neil Strauss, 5'6", whatever he is, little bald guy, whooping your ass, you're not supposed to just look at that and then flick to the next TikTok reel, okay? You're supposed to sit with that. That's the problem with our phones these days, right, is we don't sit with anything anymore the way that we used to. Neil's favorite book is Ulysses by James Joyce. That's a huge, huge, huge book that's very challenging to read. You're meant to sit with that, okay? So when you're seeing something exceptional, you're meant to sit with that for a long period of time. You're not meant to just jump to the next content and just see, flick around and see what else is there and not change. You're meant to profoundly, profoundly change when you see this stuff, okay? One that I've posted that I think people don't fully register. Did you guys ever see the old videos I used to post with real life social interaction footage where I wouldn't even talk?
Yeah, I saw that.
Anybody ever see that? You're not meant to sleep when you see that.
That freaked me out.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Yeah.
I believe it happened because I saw
And
it.
not only that, but you could come out with me anytime and I could do it anytime you want. So it's been 11 years since I posted that video and I've gotten a lot better at it. So the point that I'm making though is like, if you see me, like I basically used to post these videos where I wouldn't even talk at all and all this wild stuff would start happening, like crazy as you can imagine. Well, if that's the case, in effect, you should see that. You're not supposed to watch that and just go, oh, like it's a circus trick. Like you're supposed to sit with that, okay? You're meant to sit with that. And that's meant to produce dramatic transformation. It's meant to change your life. Like just seeing that one time is meant to profoundly change your life. If I'm gonna be real with you, the major reason why for most people it won't change their life, it's because of the fact they didn't pay for it. It's kind of like if you, the metaphor of like the wise man at the top of the mountain. If you had to climb up a Himalayan mountain for 3 months to get to the wise man at the top of the mountain, and then you finally get there. You finally got to the top of the mountain. You're like, wise man, tell me the secret of the universe. And he's like, life is. And he just stares at you. Your mind is like your brain, like your skull just shatters in a million pieces, right? Because if you had to work for 3 months to get to the top of the mountain, and he just says life is, he stares at you, your mind is like, wait a minute, all these moments I resisted, all my fake ego, all my fake reality, the universe, what is the universe? And it would draw so much out of you. Like there's been so much buildup and investment into that one epiphany that your mind would seek return on investment and then your mind explodes. The problem is when you see Luke or Neil or me or whoever, right, doing this stuff, if you haven't invested into it, then your mind just sees it and it goes, oh, okay, like, yeah, whatever, that's kind of cool, right? Like maybe you see me do a 5-hour public speaking video and your mind doesn't process like, did that guy just talk for 5 hours? But what you don't know is that when I do these events, I sometimes talk for 15 hours for 2 straight days. I sometimes talk for 15 hours for 5 straight days. And I mean, I can make up entire seminars with nothing even prepared, walk into a room and create an expert level seminar for 5 days straight without even preparation. People will be in that room and they never process what they're really seeing. They never ask themselves, how is he able to do that? Okay, maybe you go see a comedian like Russell Brand or Bill Burr or whoever you think is a great comedian, and you watch them just rock a room like that, making everybody laugh, just like looking at someone a little bit in the eye, they bowl over laughing, and you're like, oh, well, he's a comedian, that's just what he does. It never occurs to you that you could do that too. So do you remember what I said earlier about people deny their inner light? You're denying your inner light. When people first see me, they look up to me because they're denying their inner light. When you see a comedian like, say, Russell Brand rock a room, you put that as this thing that he could do because you're denying your inner light. The beauty is you could do what he does. Any one of you could public speak the way you see me doing it. Any one of you could get the same results as the best teachers. Any of you guys can make millions of dollars, but you'll deny your inner light and say, oh, that's them. oh, Owen did all that crazy stuff without even talking. Well, that's Owen. He's the going out guy. Of course he did. He's the going out guy. It doesn't occur to you that you could also do that thing with the right training, the right insights, the right repetition, the right effort. It's not real to you that you could do it, right? But you actually could. But you'll deny your inner light because you're just not ready to see it yet, okay? I'm going to give 2 other things that I think a lot of people don't sit with enough. One of them is my friend Marcel Klein can do things with hypnosis that is downright terrifying. Have you guys ever seen my friend Marcel do hypnosis? It is freaky. Like, it's, yeah, you've seen it, right? How do you, yell out to the audience, and don't let me down here by saying some boring shit. Yell out to the audience like some of the freaky things you've seen Marcel do. Stand up and yell it out.
Freaky thing.
Come on, use your voice and entertain. Don't just be like, hey, hypnosis. Yeah, okay, tell them.
He just touched the
Yell.
and they
Come on, dude, this sucks. I hate it. I always like ask the audience for help with shit. Okay, all right, okay. Tell the audience, now it just looks like I'm putting you up to it, but tell the audience, don't make them bored. Don't make it about you and how boring you are. Entertain the audience and address their boredom and tell them with honesty some of the crazy shit you've seen Marcel do.
He goes into flow and he can talk for like 12 hours straight.
I'm talking hypnosis, brother. We all know Marcel can talk. I'm talking the hypnosis stuff. The freaky shit, the weird shit, the midget fucking the donkey type shit. Come on, they're bored. Tell them the crazy shit.
I got one, Owen.
Okay, yell it out. You seen Marcel?
Yeah, he actually made
Have a seat. You're making this too much. No, can I teach you a lesson?
Yeah.
Have a seat. I love authenticity, but one of the biggest problems with authenticity is it doesn't include relatability. Right? So like I ask you the question, and like, bro, the audience doesn't care about your authenticity. They care that they're bored. When you learn from Marcel, yes, you saw him public speak. We all know Marcel can public speak. But I guarantee you that you saw some shit there that was insane. I know that you did. The audience wants to hear the insane shit. They don't need to hear your like actual authenticity. They just want to hear you relay the insane stuff that you saw because they're bored. They don't know you. They're not invested enough into you. They have no investment in you. They have investment in me, so watching my videos. They don't have an investment in you yet. So tell them something. Tell them with real. This is not lying. This is not lying.
Guys, listen. A gay man came out of the closet after Marcel's hypnosis. After years and years of holding back. That's pretty insane shit.
I think that's okay. Okay, here, have a seat. Okay. All right, what did you see? I'll tell you guys what I've seen if you want. He's not backing me up here. Okay.
He made a guy fall in love with a water bottle.
Yeah.
Did.
Okay. I'd say that's decent. Here, I'll tell you what actually happens. Okay? Here's what actually happens. Marcel will be in the room, and he can literally just go like this, and people fall on the ground. They start hitting their fucking heads and shit, okay? So back me up that this is real. He goes, boom, people hit the fucking floor. He can make a Democrat believe they're a Republican. He can make a Republican believe they're a Democrat. He can make a straight guy believe he's gay. If he wants to, he can make guys just start, you know what, okay? Did you see stuff like that? Yeah, do you see by the end of the 3rd day when he teaches that shit, people are dropping on the ground? He can drop a whole room. Marcel can walk in the room and be like, sleep, 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 sleep. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. But of course, you don't tell me any of this shit. You're just like, well, he did some public speaking. Anyway, but actually, I think that, because, okay, am I telling the truth that Marcel, when he's doing hypnosis, can be like, sleep, 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 and boom, boom, boom. Okay, so, okay, he can get him to, he can tell a guy, like he can tell a shy guy, you're confident now? The guy will march up to the fucking front of the room and will literally be a better public speaker than I am. Just because he brainwashed him, the guy going, you're now better than Owen, and they're just, boom, they could do it. Did you see stuff like that? Yeah. Did you actually see stuff like that, or just indulge in me?
On a video.
You see it in a video?
Yeah.
Okay. Weren't you at his event? I thought you'd been to one of Marcel's. I thought I saw you at Marcel's event. Have you only been to my events?
Yes. So
Which one did you see?
I went to Mental Millionaire, and after that, the next.
As well.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, okay. All right. Okay. Let me teach you another thing too. The way you're talking is too much authenticity, not enough relatability. Do you see how you're talking just how you want to talk? When I tell you to talk in this room, the audience is bored. Okay? So look, it's like if I introduce you to 2 hot women, right? I go, here, I'm going to introduce you to 2 hot women. And then you just go and you're like, well, I'm kind of tired right now, so I don't want to be fake. And you're like, yeah. Right? And then later they're like, Owen, why did you introduce me to this fucking loser? He sucks. Right? And then I go to you, I go, dude, they think you're a loser. They think you suck. And you're like, I'm being authentic. I'm tired. Okay? Authenticity only goes so far, guys. Okay? It's also, say the word context dependent. Okay, so if I introduce you to my mom and you like to say words like motherfucking bitch, and I introduce you to my mom, Should you say motherfucking bitch to my mom? Okay, so does that make you inauthentic if you don't say motherfucking bitch to my mom? Okay, what does that mean that you understand if you meet my mom and I tell you don't say words like motherfucking bitch? What does that mean? It means you know context. It's not fake, it's just context. If you're in a room full with a bunch of people and I ask you a question, don't mumble and talk about some boring shit. No one cares, dude. No, don't go in your mind and go, well, I'll just relay the facts. Well, the first thing he did was he was like a pretty good public speaker. Dude, there's people, everyone here has a life. Everyone here has other places they could be. Everyone here could be making money right now. They didn't come here to hear like, well, yeah, so, then he did a little presentation. Like, no, I want to hear the midget fuck the donkey, okay? They want to hear about shit like he just takes his hand like this and the whole room fucking drops. They want to hear about shit like that, okay? So anyway, okay, that's the lesson there, so you get it, okay. So anyway, all right. If Marcel didn't have hundreds of hours of video footage of this, I wouldn't beat the dead horse so hard, but you can look this shit up and you can see the video footage of him doing, okay? If you want to see other examples of it, look up Benny Hinn. Do you guys know Benny Hinn? He's a religious preacher, and he just goes, the power of Jesus, and the room just goes, and like whole stadiums just go flying. Like he waves his jacket around, and stadiums just go flying. He does this, and then fucking people fly backwards, okay? Look up Benny Hinn as well, okay? So Benny Hinn, H-I-N-N, okay? You need to look this up. Every man and woman on earth need to look up Benny Hinn, not to be his follower, but to understand human psychology, okay? Take the time to do it, okay? Now, let's circle back to the point. Something like hypnosis. If my friend Marcel can go like this, and then people go boom, and they hit the ground, and you see that, what is the normal way that people will process that when they see Marcel do it?
They're faking.
They may believe it's faking, that is true. But what else?
He can do it, I can't.
Yeah, say that louder, please.
He can do it, and I can't.
Yeah, say that. Okay, who else understands that?
He's a wizard.
Yeah, he's a wizard, right? Oh, well, that's Marcel. Marcel can do that, and then they drop, but I can't. That's as deeply as they think about it. Yep.
I'd say he couldn't do that to me.
Okay, that's all fine. But anyway, the point being is even when you talk louder. So see how you said, are you French, by the way?
No, Chilean.
Chilean, okay. When you talk, if you're in a room, always make sure the room can hear you, okay? Always make sure. So say it louder.
I'd say he couldn't do that to me.
Can you guys hear him at the back corner? If they can't hear you in the back corner, are you a net add to the room or a net negative to the room now?
Negative.
Here's what you do. Stand up, and then engage the whole group, and then say that thing.
I'd say Marcel couldn't do that to me. He couldn't hypnotize me.
Got it. If I was an asshole, I'd make a bet with you, and I'd make a lot of money. Now, basically, so here's basically what I'd say, okay? So pretty much what I would tell you is this, okay? When you see that, the way that normal people are seeing it is that's the hypnosis guy. That's the hypnotist guy. What would be a better thing to think if you walked in a room and someone just started doing this and people just start fucking dropping? What would be a more appropriate, more honest way of thinking about it?
Why is that happening?
Why is that happening? What else?
How do I learn that?
How could I do that? What else?
That guy has put in some effort.
That guy's put in effort. Great answers. What else? What else? How's that? That's the big one. How the fuck does that work? So if a guy walks in a room and just does this and people start dropping, you're not supposed to see that and go, oh, well, the hypnosis guy fucking did a hypnosis thing. Oh, he's a hypnotist. What did you learn from this? Marcel is a hypnotist. That's not the lesson, okay? The lesson is, what does this mean about human psychology? Could this happen to me? Rather than saying, and this is to help you, rather than saying, that would not happen to me, it should be, I wonder if that could happen to me, would be another question. Like, I wonder if it could, I don't know. Another thing would be to say, how could I learn to be that persuasive or influential? What does that mean about the way that human psychology works? You're meant to see that and not sleep. If you just, look, if some guy walks in a room and starts doing this and people's heads are hitting the fucking table, you're not supposed to sleep that night. You're not meant to go to sleep. You're meant to be like in bed like, what the fuck? What the fuck? But instead it's just like, oh, the next entertaining thing. Like you watch a movie. Like as if it was a movie. This ain't a motherfucking movie, dog. This is real life, bro. Okay? So that's how you're supposed to see it. In the same way, if you see me walking up to someone and attracting them just by not even talking, you're not meant to sleep that night. Your brain is meant to go, I'm going to practice what he taught me until I can do that. Like, I'm not stopping till I can do what I just saw that man do. That's amazing. If you guys see me come in here and do public speaking improvisationally for many hours and running a room and you're inspired by that, a great response in my view would be to say, how could I do what Owen does? Maybe another question would be, how did he do that? How is Owen able to just come up with a seminar that's relatively cohesive without even having a script? Did this guy even have a plan when he came in here? How come it seems like he had a plan? What is the part of my mind that could do that I'm not accessing right now? How much money could I make if I could do that? If I could present like Owen, how much cash could I make? If I did sales like Owen, how much money could I make? That's a better way to look at it. What's he tapping into? And how can I understand that maybe as a layman and the surface level things happening, but then how could I go deeper? I mean, if Owen's been working on this for 25 years and he dedicated his life to it, why did Owen spend 25 years dedicating his life to this? What did he get out of it? And should that be a path that I might get something out of, okay? That would be a better way to see it, okay? When I saw my mentor Mystery, I was so blown away I couldn't sleep, and I said, I don't care if this takes me 100 years, I'm doing what he did. That was amazing. Like, I'm just like, that guy is so badass, I will never stop till I could do what he did. That was just how my mind was. If you look up a guy like Alex Hormozi, you see him running a business. If you like his content, just as a commonly known guy, why doesn't your mind go, I want to make 100 mil? I want to do that. How come I can't do that? I never made 100 mil in cash, but I've done over 100 mil in sales. I've driven that through the pipes, even though I didn't keep 100 mil. If you guys see me doing that, it's like, how did Owen do that? Maybe you want to question that and say, how could I learn that too? Instead of being stuck in my job, right? I don't teach this, and I never will teach this because you get banned if you do, but I didn't get sick now for, I think it's about 15 years. Since 2012, 14 years. I've not had a common cold, never got COVID, nothing. I'll never teach that because you get banned if you do, so I'm not teaching it. You'll get sued, you get banned, everything. I'll never teach it, but shouldn't your brain be like, I wonder what I could learn? Like, what could I learn about that? What did Owen know that I could know, right? I'm not gonna give you the answer, but the point is that I just put that out there to encourage people to study natural health. I'm just an anecdote. I'm not a double-blind study, but I used to get sick about 10 times a year. I remember I used to get sick so much that I'd go to the doctor, and there would be a poster that would say, symptoms of having HIV. And one of the symptoms is that you're sick all the time. And I look at it, I go, oh no, right? And I thought maybe I had it. Turned out I didn't, but the point is, like, that's how often I got sick. So then finally at my old business partner's wedding, I got super sick during it, and I hated his wife deeply, and I knew that she would eventually divorce him and take half his money, which she totally did. But the point is that, you know, I was the best man at the wedding, and wouldn't you guys think that even if you hate your buddy's wife, that you could at least be nice about it during the wedding? And he knew I didn't like her, and what happened was I got so sick that I missed the wedding, and he actually did 2 weddings, and I got to the second one. But the point is that, can you imagine how embarrassed I was missing the first wedding? Because what is it, if you hate your friend's wife, and you missed the wedding and you're the best man, what's it look like you did? It looks like you were that petty, right? And I was so embarrassed because I got so sick, I was like, man, I look fucking petty right now. I'm like, I gotta never get sick again. So I just started studying natural health and I never got sick again. So it's one of these things where, like, again, if you hear that, I think a better response would be to go home and just read, study, learn. You know, just do what I did, right? Like, take that on board. Man, she cost that guy. You know, he's got to pay her till the day he dies. You know that? He got to pay her till he's dead. I told him to get a prenup. He didn't want to do it. He's got to pay her till he's dead. Crazy shit. So much cash. They don't even have a kid. Crazy. Anyway, prenup or just spiritual marriage. Anyway, but not real marriage. So not legal marriage. Okay. So anyway, let's keep going. That's probably the most, ironically, out of this whole speech, that's probably the most important part. Yeah, probably the most important part. Yeah. So. Okay, but anyway, yeah, probably not even prenup, just don't even do it. But anyway, so, yeah, point being, because I love marriage, but I just don't think it's respected the way that it used to be, right? If that woman did that 50 years ago, she'd be shamed for acting like that to him, but instead it's encouraged now. So it's not taken with the same seriousness. It's not taken that way socially. If a couple happens to take it that way, that's beautiful, but most people don't. Now, let's keep going. So when you see my buddy Marcel hypnotize somebody, or you see me doing public speaking, or what I did with not getting sick, or me doing 100 million in sales, that's not just meant to be infotainment. That's not just meant to be entertainment. That's meant for you to internalize it and to have an urgency to go and learn the skills, okay? Now, the hypnosis one I think is super crazy, but let me also give you another one. The other one is magic, okay? So has anyone here ever seen it like where maybe somebody does sleight of hand and they just go, like they might have a pen and they go like that and the pen just disappears? You ever seen that? Okay, so again, just beating a dead horse a little bit, indulge me. What is the common way that people process that when they see a magician disappear something? Or maybe like do a psychic reading. Like magicians can like psychically read you. What's most people's way of processing that?
It's magic. He's the magic.
Yeah, say that louder, please.
He's the magic guy.
Yeah, he's the magic guy, right? Guys, wake the fuck up. If somebody can take this cup and go puff and it disappears, or they can take the cup and make it levitate in midair, wake the fuck up. You gotta learn something, okay? Now, I'm not gonna reveal the trick of how that works because I don't wanna ruin magic for you. The thing with magic, if you guys wanna know a bit about magic, the rule among other illusionists and magicians is you never share how it's done. And the reason why is because some of those illusions take like 5 years of practice to master, but once you know the trick, you're just like, oh, that's it, even though it took the guy 5 years to master that fucking illusion, right? So I don't want to ruin it for you, but the basic that I can share so that I don't ruin it for you, and the kind of rule among magicians is if somebody really wants to know, they can go look it up. You know, if you really want to know, you can go look it up. You can easily look it up without me telling you, but I don't want to ruin it for people who just want to enjoy it, okay? But the basic way that it works is this. You guys know how I talk about RAS all the time? Yes. What is RAS?
Reticular activation.
Yeah, say that louder, please.
Reticular activation.
Yeah, it's reticular activation system, right? So we always say we don't believe what we see what we believe, okay? So repeat that after me. We don't believe what we see what we believe. So if I can make you believe that the pen is about to disappear, all that I have to do is just put it in my pocket and your brain will believe it disappeared. That's in effect how it works. Okay? How crazy is that? Okay? If I can make you believe that you're Hillary Clinton with enough certainty, your RAS just tweaks out and makes you think you're Hillary Clinton. Okay? So you know how guys say looks and money matters when it comes to being successful with social skills and attraction? What you got to understand is those people have very weak frames. They don't understand that if you believe you're a 10, that has an effect on other people that they also believe that you're a 10. They don't understand. What's up, bro? They don't understand. Guys, give a hand to Michael, by the way, and Tristan, they're here. So they don't understand that what's in effect happening is somebody who's really good, somebody who's really effective is very good at setting a frame and very good at triggering that person's RAS to see things in a very, very specific way, okay? So do you guys remember what I said was that the basis of all this stuff from Blueprint Decoded is getting out of groupthink? Okay, so in other words, when you are not in groupthink, okay, you're not in groupthink, why do you become a 10 when you get out of groupthink? You literally become a 10 instantly as soon as you're out of groupthink. You literally become a 10 as soon as you're out of groupthink. You're literally a 10, and your dating abilities goes explosive nuclear when you're out of groupthink. Why?
You maintain your own frame.
Say it louder, please.
You maintain your own frame.
Louder, please.
You maintain your own frame.
Okay, so if you have a frame that you are a 10, that's your frame, even when you're not. If you have a frame that you're very attractive, what is that? If we just discuss illusions and we just discuss hypnosis, what does that, without doing an illusion, without doing hypnosis actively, what effect does that have if you're not in groupthink and you determine the frame in your own mind?
Everyone thinks it.
People begin to see you as a 10. Now, another way to put it is, rather than as a 10, a better way to put it would be a 1 of 1. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. If a woman is dating me and you were to say to a girl that I'm seeing, rate Owen out of 10, generally what happens is they become confused as to how to answer. Because really I'm about a 4 or a 5, okay? You might even argue a 2 or a 3, but I'm not a 2 or a 3 because I have frame. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Right, so in effect, having frame means that you're gonna wind up dating models, actresses, Instagram celebrities, doctors, lawyers, like it's literally when you have frame and you're the one dictating the reality, you just became a 10, you're gonna date other 10s. But you're not really a 10. Does that make sense? You're not actually a 10 because you're an average guy. But you become a 10 when you have frame. So basically what you do is you become one of one. Now, if you guys look at the way that I carry myself, everything from the way I dress and the way I carry myself, it is done with very specific intention not to be able to fall under a traditional rating system. That is another powerful nuke that I'm giving you. Okay, sit with that for a minute, okay? I need you to sit with this. Everything I'm doing, you need to sit with this, is meant to make it where I can't be rated under a system where I will lose. Okay? If I allow myself to be rated under a 1 to 10 system, my dating life will basically be senior citizen bridge trolls. And God bless them, I like senior citizen bridge trolls. Okay, I like everybody. But I'm just making the point that, okay, I respect and like everybody, but you see my point, right? That would be what I'm limited to. So the swing on this, okay, for someone like me, the swing on this is you're a 10 and attract other 10s to basically you being unable to date anybody. Do you guys see the swing here? That's how big the swing is when you don't have frame, okay? That's how big the swing is. The reason why it would be that for me, to be very clear, is I'm a bald, gray-bearded, fat, autistic guy pushing 50. So if I'm a fat, pasty, bald, Santa Claus-looking, gray-bearded, autistic man pushing 50, who is my equivalent that I would date? Well, here's the best part. If you're a 3, do you date other 3s? No, you date a 1. Right, because of how it works, right? So the point is, so you don't even get your equivalent. So if you don't have frame, you're really fucked, okay? So why is it that I don't want to be rated? How am I making it where I don't get rated under a traditional rating system? And why do I not want to be rated under a traditional rating system? And how do I do it? How do I avoid it?
Being framed.
The frame is everything. Okay, what else?
You dress how you want. Like you're wearing neon green shoes,
Neon green shoes,
red hat,
big beard, red hat.
watch, like all the rest of it. It doesn't fit under any category.
It doesn't fit under a category.
You're setting yourself apart. My brother is totally an expert with this fashion. He's like, it's $1,500 tennis shoes, that's what I gotta get.
Yeah.
You got the shoes, you have these beautiful chains, you come out very fun yet successful.
Yeah.
Not rated like every other
Yeah. Now, by the way, that's why.
going to the club.
Yeah.
You're like,
Different. It's something they haven't seen.
different.
This is what women say to me when I date. We'll be like sitting in bed together, and they're like, and I'll be like, oh, baby, you're so hot. And she'll be like, you're so.
I can't explain it.
I've just never been with someone like you in my life, Owen. You know, you're so unique. There's no one else like you, right? You know, right? And I had a great dating life in a wheelchair, guys, okay? So my principles worked when I was in a wheelchair for half a year, believing I'd never walk again. Okay? Was anybody here with me when I was in the wheelchair? Can you confirm that for half a year I was in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
And did I go out?
Yeah, you were like an attraction. You were like, it was like girls like flocking to you.
Yeah, say that a bit louder. This is me in a wheelchair.
Yeah, at the bungalow, we were out. Owen's rolling up in the wheelchair, there's girls all over him. Like, it was like, just use it to his advantage, you know?
Yeah, in a wheelchair. I have no sympathy, by the way, for people in wheelchairs. None. I did great. I love being in a wheelchair. I stayed in that damn wheelchair even when I didn't even need to be in it anymore. I had a great time in the wheelchair. So I love my life in a wheelchair. It was fun. I had such a fun time in a wheelchair. I'm sorry, but like that is not an excuse. So guys will say, oh, looks matter. Dude, I was in a motherfucking wheelchair. Shut the fuck up, okay? Bald, autistic, gray-bearded, fat guy in a wheelchair, and I smashed it. So people need to shut the fuck up. They just don't get it. Now, let's keep going. So from there, okay, so I'm dressing different, but also look at my mannerisms and how I carry myself. So if you look at my personality, now when people see this on video, they don't hear the vocal projection the way that you guys do. How much does my voice fill a room if you're here? Because the problem is these mics are really advanced technologically. So what happens is, even if I talk like this, it sounds about the same on the mic at home. You guys see that? Because it's going to auto balance it.
So at home, it sounds like this. Like how much, okay, for people at home, how much quieter am I talking now? How much quieter am I?
10 times quieter.
Okay, 10 times quieter, okay? Probably even more. So if you look at how I carry myself, okay? Okay, so observe how I'm carrying myself. So what are some things that I'm doing? And I do this when I go out. How am I carrying myself here in this room from a 1 to a 10? What do I believe about myself, the way I'm carrying myself? I'm trying to point this out to you so you can replicate it. You'd have your own style. You don't need to copy my style. You'd have your own version of this. But how am I carrying myself in this room?
You have great posture.
Thank you. Posture. I like it.
100% women like it.
You have good energy.
The posture. Let me give me more. What about my posture? So, okay, but
Straight, you're not
yeah,
slouching.
setting up straight.
Shoulders are the,
Okay.
walk with purpose.
I walk on purpose.
That's what women look for.
Your eyes are up.
Man, I should have started asking this every seminar. Okay, well, what I'm getting at, but how am I using my voice, right? Okay, let me show you a couple things. How am I using my voice?
1,000 out of 10.
Okay, so the voice is saturating the room. Now, am I looking at any one person or am I engaging everybody? Everyone. Do I believe in what I'm saying? Yes. If I have a joke, do I just say the joke? Yes. Am I constantly scanning to you guys to like the joke or to like what I say, or am I delivering it just like music playing? You know how the music just plays? It just adds value. You know how the sun just emanates? It just adds value. That's what someone who's confident does. Okay? So look, I'll break this down a bit more pragmatic. If people are in the audience, here's what they'll do, okay? They're in the audience, and if I'm the leader and they have a question, they will look at me and they'll go, hey, Owen, I have a question. They look directly at me and they talk quiet, okay? Then I get up, I make sure that everyone in the room can hear me, and I engage everybody in the room. You guys see that? Okay? Now, let me give you a little secret here that they don't want you to know. I tell my friends, please, for the love of God, never bring your girlfriend to my seminar. Never do it. Never, ever, ever, ever. He knows. Michael knows. Never do it. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault.
Follow us around.
Oh, follow us around? We'll go with follow us around. It's a big problem, okay? Never, ever do it, okay? Don't. Do not, okay? Because what's going to happen is, it's not good, okay? Like, every problem you can think of is going to happen. And we will do what we can to prevent that for you, but you do not want to do that, okay? Now, in effect, what's going to happen is this. If you bring your girlfriend to seminar, you are going to look at us as instructors, and you're going to do that thing where you talk quiet and you look directly at us. Her brain is going to see that and view yourself as inferior to the guy at the front of the room. Michael actually has a really funny thing that he talks about where there's a girl who's dating an MMA fighter. This guy is a badass MMA fighter. Look, if somebody fights like Chuck Liddell or Conor McGregor or Khabib, and they lose, barely lose, but they do lose, wouldn't you think that the woman would be impressed by that? That you survived fighting Chuck Liddell or Conor McGregor or Khabib? But the visual in their mind of another man pinning you down and you being like, like that, they just dry up and they break up, okay? Dry up and break up. So the problem is, if you come into a room and there's a guy up at the front who's using their voice and projecting it, and then you go, hi, Michael, I have a question about my confidence. You know that, right? And she sees that. There's millions of years of wiring that she can't prevent, just like how, you have millions of years of wiring of like, tits and ass and skin and hair, all this stuff. You can't help how you feel. They also have that, okay? And that wiring is there to keep them alive and to keep the children alive. So you can't be mad at it, okay? So that there, what it does is it makes you look low level. Now, by the way, I'm going to show you how you could come with your girlfriend to the seminar and there wouldn't be a problem, okay? Can I show you? Yes. Here's how you would do it, okay? So when you'd be in the room, when you'd ask the question, you'd stand up like this, okay? There'd be the person in the front and you'd say, hey, Owen, watch what I'm doing. You'd have your voice saturate the room, okay? That's number one. So your voice would saturate the room.
Voice saturates the room.
Number 2 is you'd look at everybody in the room. Say that. Okay, and you'd have expansive energy. And you'd speak with certainty. And you'd take the frame that the speaker is there to entertain you. Right? Because there's 2 ways to look at a guy at the front of the room, right? One is he's the leader. What could be another way to look at the speaker in front of the room? He's the dancing monkey clown, okay? So basically what you do is you'd stand up, you say, hey, Owen, I really appreciate everything you taught today. It was really amazing. Then what you do is you'd look at me about a third of the time, and then the other third of the time you pivot your head, and I'd say, what the vibe I'm getting, Owen, is that what everyone here wants to learn is what's your best tip for XYZ? Thank you, brother. Now, if you did that, your voice saturated the room, you looked at other people, then you wouldn't have all those problems with the drying out and the breakups and all that kind of stuff, okay? But the problem is that if you just go in there looking like a bitch, you're unleashing this torrent and tsunami of really bad events, really bad stuff that you don't want to have happen. At minimum, you're going to get broken up with when you go home, okay? That's the minimum. Maximum gets much worse, okay? But at minimum, Michael's laughing because he knows. And we don't try to indulge this shit. We're like, get out of here. Like, we don't want to talk to you. Like, you're with our boys. Get the fuck out of here. But, like, it's really bad, okay? They start hitting you in the DMs. They start coming up on you. They sneak around. They try to do stuff with you in the bathroom. Like, they're going crazy, okay? It's fucking crazy. So don't let that happen. Don't act like that. Have you ever seen videos of me where I'm like, never be a beta? I'm like, never be. That's because of the shit that I see, okay? Don't be a beta, okay? Just don't do it. You don't want to do it, okay? You don't want to do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. That beta male shit is not worth it. The consequences are too high. There's money problems from it. There's a lot of people would say immune system functions from it. Like Stanford researchers like Robert Sapolsky have studied this. It makes you a drone. You get swept up in weird little movements. You got the Milgram effect. And also, your girlfriend winds up hooking up with somebody else. So it's really bad. You don't, and you make less money. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. It's like an addiction. It's like a drug addiction. Just don't do it, okay? I'd almost rather my kids addicted to crack than to be hooked on that beta shit, because it's literally like a cope. Just don't be hooked on it. It's like a drug. That beta shit's like a fucking drug. Don't do it, okay? So the cost is too high, okay? It costs you your soul. It costs you your girl, your money, your soul, your immune system, your independent thinking, your agency, your productivity. Costs your fucking soul. Never do it. Never ever do it. Just don't do it. Just don't, okay? Say no to being a fucking chump. Just say no, okay? So, okay? Government will lock you down and shit. Like, just don't do it, okay? So, 2020, right? So, okay, everyone's like, ah. So, do you guys remember those videos from China where like there's like guys in hazmat suits like spraying the buildings and people are just dying on the street. They're just like walking and they go, oh, and they just die. All acted. And everyone's like, ah, okay? So, people just believe it. So, anyway, let's keep going. Now, in effect, what's happening is when you engage the group like that, so if you walk around and you have your, okay, repeat this after me. You have your own frame. Say, I have my own frame. I have my own frame. Okay, now people may laugh at the fact that I'm telling you to repeat after me that you have your own frame. I understand. No, because here's what happens. Okay, can I just side quest point here, okay? I fucking teach this shit, right? And then there's always some motherfucker in the comments that's like, well, if they have their own frame, then why are they repeating, you know, like, what is it? I'm like, come on, like, dude, I gotta teach it somehow. People are not gonna magically learn this by just sitting at home alone, just, oh, I have frame now, okay? Like, you kind of have to start somewhere. That's kind of the point of this whole talk, by the way. Codependence, independence, interdependence, okay? You gotta start somewhere. So just go with me in my frame temporarily with the purpose of getting you as a stepping stone to having your own frame, okay? I understand the irony. We all get it, okay? So, anyway, so say, I have my own frame. I have my own frame. You guys won't want to say it anymore. Okay, say, I see the world through my own eyes. I'm not impacted by other people's opinions. I am open to other people's opinions. But I'm not dictated by other people's opinions. Yeah, so in other words, I use my damn brain. Say that. Okay, all right. So basically you're using your brain. So basically there is a fundamental shift that happens when you stop existing via the groupthink and your brain starts to operate by seeing the world through your own eyes, okay? This is what starts to happen. And then what happens is when you go and interact with somebody, you will be in your frame, in your own frame, but they will jump into your frame, okay? And then what happens is if inside your frame you see yourself as a 10, but not really a 10 because you know that you're not a 10, because a 10 is like, I don't know, some Cristiano Ronaldo, or who, I don't know what the fuck these guys like think a 10 is, whatever the Tom Brady or some, I don't know, whatever, one of these fucking guys, okay? What's that?
You, Owen.
Me, yes, it could be me, right? But you know these guys that these guys like look at and they stare at, right? You say to yourself, like, you know that you're not the traditional 6'4" Giga Chad guy, right? So you know that you're not a 10 by a way of looking at it, but by defining your own category, which is one of one. Say, I define my own category. I become one of one. So basically what you do is you define your own category and you become one of one, and then you dictate the frame. Say, I dictate the frame, of what is good and what is bad, of what has value and what is a leech. Okay, so what winds up happening is that you start to dictate the frame, and you say, I dictate my own values and preferences.
I dictate my own values and preferences.
Other people scramble and react.
Other people scramble and react.
Because they want to keep up.
Because they want to keep up.
Yeah, so the way that this has to work, okay, at a core level, here's how this has to work. Okay? This is very, very key how this has to work. So let's say that you're talking to somebody and you have a very specific sense of humor, okay? And I don't know, maybe it's a bit wacky or a bit off the wall, and then you start to bust out jokes that are a little bit wacky and a little bit off the wall. Your frame has to be so strong that they begin to react to you and they begin to rate themselves via the frame or prism that you have laid down, okay? So if you're in the who is better looking frame, then what happens is you say, well, I'm not as good looking as this person that I'm talking to, therefore they have the higher value, okay? But if you say, I'm more into Pokemon cards, and because I have more knowledge of Pokemon cards, I have the higher value. If you can do that in a way that is, say this word, emotionally compelling, captivating, funny, interesting, then what happens is they begin to question themselves that they don't have a Pokemon card like you. And then what happens is they start to look to you as an authority. And they actually become attracted just because you're better at Pokemon cards. And I could show you, I've never done that. I've never made a video like that, but I could. Like, I could go out tonight, you give me a couple cracks at it, because I'm not really into Pokemon cards, so it'd be a little bit hard to sell myself on it. But if I could trick my own brain that Pokemon cards are the shit, like the way Logan Paul's into Pokemon cards, right? I could convince myself, I could show you so much attraction just by using the Pokemon cards thing, okay? Like, you'd actually see that. Like, literally, you'd see me, like, turning my back on the person I'm talking to. They'd be like, wait, Owen, tell me more about Pokemon cards. Like, they would be chasing me to learn more about Pokemon cards. It'd be a hard sell because I'm not actually into it. But I could, eventually, if I just kept doing it, I could trick my brain, and they would chase me to learn more about the Pokemon cards. Now, at a more subtle level, it might just be that you're very chill, and then they are a bit more high energy, and then they try to match your energy to act chill. Do you guys ever remember when they used to teach way back in the day to use mirroring and matching? Yeah. Okay, so back in the day, they would teach mirroring and matching. And one day, there was a guy that came in a discussion in an old forum that we were in, and he said, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think you don't mirror and match. You actually lay down your own frame, and then they try to keep up with you. That's actually the better one in many cases. Mirroring and matching probably has a place. It does have a place. There's certain places that mirroring and matching is effective, like mirroring their body language and opinions and all that. Better, though, in 80% of cases, although I don't know the exact number, I'm kind of guessing. I'm just guessing. I think it's better to lay down your own frame and see if they begin to qualify themselves to you. So if you're really good socially, you should be able to talk about something nerdy or academic and lay the frame down so hard that they begin to frantically scramble to keep up with you. Like, now you're into books, and then they're now embarrassed that you don't, or that they don't read books. Now, being honest, obviously, you having access to the Steve Aoki concert is probably easier to lay the frame down than that you like Dostoevsky, okay? However you pronounce it, right? That's probably an easier sell, okay? Because it's something that they already relate to. You know, parties, access, after parties. That's probably, being the ruler of that universe is an easier sell than being into, nutrition, okay? It's an easier sell, but nonetheless, it can be done. It's just a little bit harder if it's the nerdy stuff, okay? So you know how they tell you to be yourself? You've ever heard that, be yourself? This is the actual be yourself, okay? So the wrong be yourself is you're depressed, you have no frame, you're fucking lazy, and you just want validation. You're like, well, that's who I am. That's the real me, this lazy fucking loser that wants validation. So I'm just gonna say it, and people should like me because I'm fucking lazy. Imagine if I told you guys that I'm tired today and I don't feel like doing the seminar. Would you like it just because that's authentic? No. I'm like, I just don't want to do the seminar. That's my authentic me. No, you'd say, fuck you. Fuck, man, I came all the way out here to Phoenix. Fuck you. But the difference is, so that's not relatable. You have authenticity, you have relatability. Say the word authenticity. Authenticity. Relatability. Okay? So what I would say is, while I think it's super potent, you know, to have the, and Michael talked to you about this, having access, being an expert in their degenerate world, if I'm being honest with you, nonetheless, I would also say that to a decent extent, you have to lay down your sense of humor and then have them qualifying via your sense of humor, via your stories, via your vibe, via your opinion, okay? By the way, if you want to even go a touch deeper, this is actually how sales and marketing is done. Please pay attention. Okay, I'm dropping bombs on you here, so like this is, what I'm going to tell you will make you $50 to $100 million, potentially, if you execute it. So, pause, okay, pause. The problem as a teacher is if you know your shit, you can drop epiphanies that contain so much spiritual light, so much potentiality, that the student blocks out what you're saying. Okay, the student blocks out what you're saying. I've done over $100 million in sales just from my mouth. How did I do it? How did I make 100 mil plus in sales? Might even be a $250 million at this point. I don't know the exact number. How did I do it just by talking? How? Come on, guys. I'm teaching it to you now. How did I do it?
Belief in what you're saying.
How did I? You're getting it. Come on, guys. 100 million on the line. Wake up.
Set the frame.
I walk in a room. I set a frame of what I think is cool and not cool. I pull people in that frame, and I make an offer to help solve the problem discussed in that frame. You dig? Yeah. That's sales at the highest of levels. That's sales at the highest of levels. That's what they don't teach well enough in sales and marketing training. That's what they're not teaching effectively enough in sales and marketing training, okay? I know formal sales copy very well. I've studied Dan Kennedy, John Carlton, and many other gurus for years. It's all amazing, but what I'm showing you here, when coupled with that, converts at 100x the conversion. It is crazy. I don't know the exact, I'm just making this shit up. But the point is, you know my point, right? It's insanely higher, okay? It's insanely higher. As a thing that I do for fun, I just do this for fun. When I go out to the mall, I will make sales for $5,000 to $10,000 anytime I go to the mall. I just get my Zelle out and I get random people to give me $5,000 or $10,000 within 20, 30 minutes. I do this as a hobby. Now, when you hear that, you think, wouldn't it be cool to make 20, 30 grand over a week just doing sales like that? Actually, if you look at my run rate of my business, I lose money to do that because I could be at home building a system. Me becoming a makeshift sales guy for one sale is not an effective use of my time. But why would I do that when I'm out? Why? Practice and what else? Here's why I would do it. Would any of you like to learn how to walk up to someone at the mall and sell them on $5,000 or $10,000? Yeah. Yes. So while I don't financially benefit from doing that, what I do financially benefit is that if I can do it, I can teach it. And if I can teach it to you, I can make the 100 mil. So that's actually why I do it. Okay, for example, in my dating life, I never need to approach someone for the rest of my life. I got Michael. If you know Michael, you don't need to go say hi to someone till the day you die. If your friend is Michael Sartain or Marcel Klein or many of the other amazing friends I have that are connectors, you think you need to learn how to walk up to someone on the street? That's probably the worst way you can meet a girl. That's like the least efficient way you can meet a girl known to man. But not all of you get to hang out with him. So I can't just go, well, hang out with him. So what I do is I still show you how to meet someone random. It's not maybe a good use of my time, but it's a powerful skill set that I can share, okay, to someone who doesn't have that connection. So, look, I do some of the best parties in all of LA. I don't need to walk up to someone at the fucking grocery store. But not everybody here has a Hollywood Hills mansion to do a fucking party, right? So I teach you how to start, okay? That's how you begin to build your soul circles, walk up to someone at random. It's the top of funnel. So, guys, I just showed you here how to do over 100 mil, potentially, if you were to apply it. What I say of how to do it. Who can break down what I just said?
Create a room with what you think is cool. Invite people in who agree agree with you that thing is cool.
Or not even who agree yet. You could convince them. They may actually not think it's cool.
Okay.
And then what? Then what do you do?
Solve the problem.
Solve the problem, right? So if I come in here and look, I'm not a fitness guy clearly, but let's say that I was super passionate about fitness, and then via my frame, I get you totally dialed in on the subject of fitness for a couple hours, and then I show problems, and I show you first of all. Okay, repeat this after me. How awesome it could be if I learn fitness. Say that.
How awesome it could be if I learn.
How painful it will be if I don't.
How painful it will be if I don't.
What it will cost me if I don't get fit.
What it will cost me if I don't get fit.
What I would financially benefit if I got fit.
How would financially benefit if I got fit.
So if I show you that, and I have a strong frame, it creates a group hypnosis. Say the word group hypnosis.
Group hypnosis.
And then if I make an offer that solves the problem, say an offer that solves the problem. An offer that bridges the gap. Say that. That's how you do sales. So understand that because I know that. See, you guys think of me as this guy that teaches social skills training. No. I just love social skills training. I fucking love it. In reality, with my kind of public speaking and having done all those sales, do I need to teach social skills training? What else could I do? Dan Kennedy said it himself. I'm not in the business of selling flowers. Dan Kennedy's a marketing OG. I'm not in the business of selling flowers. I'm not in the business of selling computers. I'm not in the business of selling houses. I'm in the business of making motherfucking money. Say that with me. The business of making motherfucking money. So what that means, who could explain what Dan means when he says that? Who wants to take a crack at it? Who could explain what that means? What does Dan mean? I ask you to explain to slow you down. I find if I keep going too much, I overwhelm you, okay? This is like drinking water from a fire hose. To me, this is slow, by the way. This is basics to me. But to you guys, it may be a lot.
Is he saying that it's the underlying process of the sales that he's fascinated by?
Yeah, say it louder.
It's the underlying process of the sale that he's fascinated by. Then you can apply that to whatever
Yeah.
he's selling.
Do you guys think I could sell flowers?
Yes.
Do you guys think I could sell a computer?
Yes.
You guys think I could sell a fucking freezer box?
Yes.
Yeah, so I can sell anything I want, okay? I don't need to sell social skill training. I can sell anything. Anything, okay? Look, I'm the kind of guy, if you know me and you got a business and you're running out of money, I'll be like, yo, toss a couple of your clients on a Zoom with me. I'll get you some money. Give me an hour on the phone with your clients. I'll get you 100 grand. Just let me talk to them. Let me get in a conversation with them. I don't care what you sell. That's called the art of persuasion. That's called frame. So guys say looks and money matters. If you have the persuasion skills to pull 100 grand off a Zoom call, you can't get a date? How unoriginal and pathetic are you? Now, I actually think the looks and accent stuff is kind of cool, but in a way of looking at it, yeah, exactly. But in a way of, okay, I think it's actually a fun niche, like making yourself look like a male model. I think it's badass for its own sake. But as far as framing goes, what is that trying to do if you're trying to look more beautiful than the girl you're trying to date?
Compensation.
Compensation, but what is it, within the context of frame, what is it trying to do? It's called mega being in her frame. You're so much in her frame, you're punching yourself in the face. You're so much in her frame that you're trying to beat her at her own frame. But what you're not realizing is that you're lacking your own frame. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to reach a pinnacle of what society told you to be in order to have frame, rather than laying down your own frame. So you'll see some guys that will get really good looking and they do get more confident. They actually do. They get way more confident. But where do they derive that confidence from? So what happens to them if they're into looking like a male model? What happens if they get in a ski accident the way that I did and now they're in a wheelchair? What happens?
Lose it all.
What happens when you're 65 years old, you're old, and no matter what you do, you're just fucking old? What happens? What happens if you have a car accident?
Your identity changes.
Your identity's changed, right? So I would say, if you want to improve your looks, go nuts. That's fucking dope. I think it's as good a hobby as any. It's dope. And it's probably better for online, where you can't, for online dating, you can't use your frame as effectively. So for online dating, it's probably fucking amazing. I don't think I could be successful in online dating at all, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe if I had my videos in it, perhaps. But you know my point, right? Like, I don't exactly wake up with, like, random women DMing me, like, sliding in the DMs, like, hey, ginger leprechaun, like, come on over, right? Whereas a really good-looking guy actually does. So for online, it's amazing. But for in-person, I would speculate it's amazing. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But for in-person, the stronger frame is going to tend to win. And guys, let me tell you from experience, it's so bad that if you have a strong frame, you could have a friend who's classically good looking, and you still have to be careful around his girlfriend. Oh, let me rewind that. When you do the things that I'm showing you here, you have to actively learn to be careful in front of your friends' girlfriends. It's a huge issue. It's a major issue. Because you probably want to have friends with guys that have a girlfriend, right? What do you think winds up happening if you're not careful when you have these skills and your friends are with his girlfriend? What happens?
Illicit attraction.
You elicit way too much attraction. It's gonna make fights with them, makes them uncomfortable. So what you've got to do when you have these skills is when you talk to your friend's girlfriend, raise your eyebrows and do this, and lower your projection, and have up talk when you talk. So you go, hi, like that. So if you introduce me to your girlfriend, I'll go, hi, good to meet you, like that, okay? And if I ask a question, do I get up and look at the whole group? No, I go, hey, Steve, what do you want to do tonight? Like that, okay? You see? You do that to big up your boy. You got to be careful. Now, ideally, what you want to do, if your boy's pretty dope, you want to tailor it to be just a millimeter below him. Because you want to make him look like he has cool friends, but you got to make him the high status one. If you go higher status than him, it is a big problem. That's how effective this stuff is. It's a problem. It becomes a problem. This stuff is so effective that if you're in a car with somebody and you tell them to turn, you've got to use that tone because they'll drive the wrong way up the highway. I've had multiple times I thought I was going to die because I told someone to turn left and they drove the wrong way up a highway. It happens a couple times a decade. Like every decade, about every 3 years, someone will drive the wrong way up a highway because I said, hey, turn this way, and they just turn up the wrong. I'm like, please, no, please turn around. They go, huh, wait, what? Because they just listen. They're in Milgram experiment mode. They just listen, okay? So that's how persuasive you get, which, by the way, if you're not a Walmart or Amazon or General Electric, these are very powerful skills to have to make hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars just using your own speaking. So it's very, very powerful skills to compete in a business level, okay? Very powerful. What Dan Kennedy is saying when he says you're in the business of making motherfucking money is that you've built a skill set where you're not attached to the niche. Say, I've built a skill set where I'm not attached to the niche. Okay? Like, in other words, you can make money in anything. Like, literally, like, you have a skill set where you will be rich until the day you die. Until the day you die. Okay, say the word rainmaker. Say that. Rainmaker. Yeah, you just become a rainmaker, right? Like, look, there's certain friends that you have that you know that if you bring a bunch of girls over, they're going to crush it. They're not going to let you down. You know what I mean? There's certain friends that you just know they're not going to let you down. And then there's certain friends where you know that if you bring a bunch of girls over, they're going to fumble. Right? It's just the truth. Some guys are just natural rainmakers, and some guys are natural fumblers. And by some guys, I mean 99% of guys. They just fumble. Right? So you have to put it upon yourself to have a strong frame. You just have to, okay? Now, let me also just slightly circle around a bit, and then I'm going to keep going forward. Why do you guys think that for me, I put more focus on frame than I did on looking better? What do you think the reason is that I did that? Okay. Here's my actual opinion on the looks thing. If you can actually look like a male model, for real, I totally think you should go for it. Okay? But most guys in this room, if we put in a half decade on getting them to look like a male model, for most guys, can they do it? I don't, look, maybe with, more recently, guys that talk about looks have talked about some very extreme measures like plastic surgery, meth, or breaking your legs, and like literally breaking your legs to be taller. And you know what? I have no problem with that in the sense that, like, if that's your passion, look, I got weird passions too. So, like, I love niche passion, so I'm not hating on it. I actually think it's kind of badass. Look, I'd prefer a guy does that than what most guys do, which is what? Nothing. So if some guy wants to go get plastic surgery, at least the guy's taking action. I think it's kind of cool. I actually like that better than not taking action at all. Okay, so I have no problem with it if somebody wants to do that. But my experience personally has been, even when my friends are very tall and good looking, I still have to do the whole hey, hey, yeah thing, or their girl will wind up getting attracted. So that's just my personal experience. So from my point of view, it doesn't really matter that much. So look, if you can look like a male model, fuck yeah, go become a male model. But at the same time, what's that? I can't hear you. I thought I heard someone say something. I'm hallucinating. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. So basically what it is that if you can look like a male model, yeah, fucking crush it, right? But in my case, look, I'm a pasty, funny-looking leprechaun. So if all that I did for a decade was focus on my looks, would I be able to compete with a guy in looks? Still no. Okay? Do you want to know what happens to 80, 90% of guys who like pound protein, do a low-carb diet, hit the gym, train? You want to know what most of them look like?
Alexis.
I don't know who that is.
No, like a car, like Alexis. You're not
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you remember the analogy. Yeah, like Alexis, right? Like who in here has like actively been training for like 5 years plus? Okay, so like stand up. You just train 5 years, you look like this. Have a seat. Stand up.
Me, bro.
Yeah, you stand up like basically you can see these two guys here, please. You just look like this. Like you look great. You look great. I think you look awesome. But is that enough that when you go out just based on this that you're crushing it?
No.
It's not enough, right? Have a seat, okay? So I've done the training thing. Look, I enjoy training. I plan to train again. But when I was training, here's what I did. I worked out and worked out and worked out and worked out. I had trainers. I did 200 grams a day of protein, managed my macros. I got down at one point to 6% body fat. I think I looked a lot better, but I was kind of more just healthy. It was just healthy. That's what I liked about it. It was healthy. So I plan to live out most of my life like that. And when I do, you know what people are going to say? They're going to say, see, look at that. Owen went and got fit. He admits it. It's about looks. They're going to say that. It's like, no, dude, I'm 50, and I'm going to get a heart attack if I don't lose my pot belly. But they're going to say it's because I, like, caved and couldn't, no matter how much infield I post. They're just going to say this, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is go make money for yourself. Go get fit for yourself, but don't do it expecting it to drive an interaction forward for you. Likewise with cash. Okay, look, I'm probably wearing, maybe around 200,000 in bling. Do you guys think that in LA, this much bling makes any difference? No, because there's guys with 500K in bling. There's guys with $1 million in bling. Look, that's a Patek Nautilus watch, right? That's maybe 110 grand. Is that an expensive watch for LA? No. There's guys there with $1 million watches. No one cares if you have a Patek, bro. No one cares. No one cares you got a bit of ice. That doesn't impress anybody in LA. You could have a $10 million mansion. You think that impresses anybody in LA? No, they've been to a $100 million mansion. That doesn't impress anybody. Look, I remember once me and Marcel rented a boat in Miami. We probably dropped 10 grand on that boat, okay? Like solid 10K for a couple hours, just take the boat out. We want to invite some girls on it. When we did that, we got a bit lazy because we thought the boat would just kind of handle it. So we'd invite girls on the boat, but we didn't engage them enough because we're just being lazy. And many of the girls who got on the boat went, I was on a way bigger boat earlier today, and they walk off. And that's like 10 G's that you're dropping on the boat. They don't care. Look, in LA, it's so competitive with parties that when you're doing a party in a $10 million mansion, you still need to be creative to get people to turn up. Maybe you get a really interesting DJ. Look, they'll do things like to the point where they'll bring puppies up, and they'll put in the flyer featuring puppies. Okay? They do this at yoga now too. They do puppy yoga now. If you haven't seen that, okay? So literally, it's like you have a $10 million mansion. You think people are going to come up for that, but unless you've got like Nyjah. Do you guys know who Nyjah is? Yeah, Nyjah. He's a skateboarder, right? But he does DJing. Like unless you have Nyjah, unless you got some fucking puppies, like it's not that big of a deal. Ty Lopez, he would have parties where his crib is worth about 100 mil. He's had his challenges lately, as you're aware. But the point is, he has a crib worth about 100 mil, and people will go to his party. Like I'd meet girls that went to his party, $100 million crib, and within one time of going, you hear them like complaining, like, "Well, I went already, whatever." It's like, dude, that's like your stupid OnlyFans ass got invited to a $100 million property. Have some goddamn decency and thank the man. But some of them are so decent. Like the entrepreneurs always appreciate it. Great party. 10 out of 10, truly. One of my favorite ever. Like truly, like amazing. But the point is like, oh, so grateful. But what I'm saying is, to a lot of women that will get invited to that, they've literally been to the $100 million mansion before. They don't care. You think they care about your $10 million mansion? You think they care about your 100K watch? You think they care about your 10 grand a night yacht? They don't. They've seen it. They've seen all this shit. They've been to Monaco. They've been to the south of France. They've been to F1. They've seen fucking all this shit. They're not going to get impressed. Let's say that you go get fit, okay? You get really, really, really fit. You don't think that they've dated some guy who's like an Adonis, and by dated I mean you know what, right? Dated, okay? Had a little escapade, right? But the point is, you think that they didn't hook up with a guy who takes full-on steroids? You think they haven't done that? Okay, you get really, really, really good looking. You think that they haven't dated a guy better looking than you? You make 40 mil, 50 mil. You think that they haven't dated a guy that's a billionaire? At least been invited out to it? Think they haven't seen that? So you can't. So what are the chances of winning in those lanes? Are you going to win in those lanes? No. And then what happens when you still do? Let's say you do win in those lanes, and then some little jackass club promoter comes up to your girlfriend, and he's more of a degenerate, cocky little fucker than you, and still takes her home anyway. Okay, I remember one of my buddies. This guy has really amazing social skills, and he said to me, Owen, I am sick of just having social skills. I want to get rich. And I said, why? He said, because I feel like I'd meet a better quality woman if I was rich. I said, brother, you've already dated, and by dated, you know what, 2 different Victoria's Secret models. You're not going to get a better girl by getting rich. He goes, no, I'm going to get a better quality girl getting rich. I go, brother, you should get rich because it's going to make your life so much better. But you're not going to get a better girl. You're just going to have a better life. Now, why do you guys think that why do I keep talking about this more and more, and I just can't seem to let it go? Why can't I just let my friend believe that his money will get him a better girl? Why can't I just let him believe that? What's the reason why I don't want him to think like that? What's that?
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what else? What's it going to do to him? What changes that are negative is it going to do to him if I let him have that?
The identity.
Okay, guys, I need you guys to really, please, for the love of God, give me a good answer. I need a good answer here because it means otherwise you're not listening.
It's going to limit him.
It's going to limit him. How's it going to limit him?
If he doesn't have it, he'll lose his confidence.
You had it. Come on.
He stops using what he knew already to get.
He stops using what he knew already, which was what?
Social skills.
Social skills and what? With an F? Frame. So what happens is, look, if you're really, really good socially, and then your friend lends you a Lambo, you know what you're going to do? You're going to be tempted to just pull the Lambo up and then just keep directing people to look at the Lambo, and it's going to fail. Every idiot pulls up his Lambo. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not actually good. You just look like another idiot. So it causes you to regress. Now, my buddy got super rich. And actually, he got so rich that he wound up helping to build up one of the biggest fitness influencers with cold traffic. And they had $1 million days. Let that land. Let that land. $1 million days using cold traffic ads. $1 million days. Not pretty cool? How much did that change his life for the better having $1 million days? Oh, huge. It's huge. You go make your money. Have the $1 million days. He didn't keep $1 million, right? He had to buy traffic. But he's making a lot of money, right? But here's what happened in his dating life. So he goes and gets this girl, right? Now, I have a 22-year-old student who's broke and lives on a bunk bed. My 22-year-old student tells me a story about how there was this girl with her rich boyfriend at Coachella, and then he talked to her on the phone, got her to ditch the rich boyfriend, and come fuck him in his bunk bed with his friend above at age 22. I bump into my buddy at Hollywood Fitness late at night one night, and I say, hey, how's it going with getting the better quality girl using money? And he said, you know, it's weird. I got a really amazing quality girl, but we were at Coachella, and I think she started texting somebody, and she just bounced. It's fucking weird. I didn't think much of it, and then I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I called my other buddy, and we determined that, yeah, like his prize partner, you know, life partner that he met using money is getting tagged in a bunk bed by a 22-year-old who's broke. Okay? So when I tell you don't rely on money, I'm not trying to discourage you from getting rich. I'm wearing a Patek Nautilus and bling. I live in a mansion. I teach wealth building. I'm not saying don't get rich. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't assume it's going to drive attraction because your girlfriend's gonna get tagged in a bunk bed. That's all I'm telling you. Just don't go make your money using the same skills that we teach here. But just don't believe that it's gonna cover your bases as far as maintaining a relationship. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Now, guys will say things like, well, you know, you can get the girl when you don't have money, but you can't keep her. Guys, how many friends do I have that are flat broke, that are dating Like, I've got friends that are flat broke that have 3 girlfriends they live with. And like a lion that gets brought food by the lioness, they just live there and service the girls that work there, or that live there, and they have 3 girlfriends at once. Meanwhile, you get a rich guy who has a wife that hits him with a broom anytime he looks at girls' tits at the mall. Hits him with a broom whenever he won't take out the trash and divorces him. Meanwhile, I have buddies that will live with several women at the same time and not even working and taken care of. So what the fuck are you talking about? That's not even real. I can introduce you to these people. That's not even real. Frame is what's real. How do we know that frame is what's real? Because look at wars. Millions of people will go murder a bunch of other people. Look at the Milgram experiment. Look at hypnosis. Look at magic. Frame is real. That's just reality. How many times have you had it where you had a significant other and they were in your frame, and then you lost frame and they flipped on you and took off? Okay, because they came out of frame. That's also why you shouldn't show weakness and vulnerability, because they come out of frame. How many times have you had a business and then maybe you had a rough patch, you lost frame and your staff hemorrhaged and hated you? That will happen when you lose frame. So you've got to know what frame is. I'm not here to make some weird marketing claim selfishly saying looks and money don't matter because I'm trying to sell a course on it, because what would be, if I'm purely in this for the money, then what would be a better way to make money than saying looks and money don't matter? Is it better as a marketer to say less things matter? Let that land. Is it better as a marketer to say less things matter? If I wanted to say that money matters and fitness matters, how could I make more money if I taught that? Upsells. I could bring in my friends that are rich and say learn from my friends that are rich. I could bring in my friends that are fit and say learn from my friends that are fit. Look, I can tell you, unless you do a parasite cleanse, you can't get a girl. And then I'll bring in my friend Josh Mason, and he'll sell you a parasite cleanse. So there's a weird conspiracy theory when I say looks and money don't matter. Like, well, yeah, you're just saying that because you have a course. And I'm like, dude, okay, fine. Here's the opposite. You have to know how to paint to get a girlfriend. If your girlfriend sees you can't do a painting, you can't get a girlfriend. Oh, here, I'm bringing a painting expert. We're going to split it 50-50. You see where I'm going with this? That's very uncreative marketing. Saying that you need less is not good marketing. What? Right? And then looking kind of like an idiot by saying something that nobody believes. Everyone's like, oh no, it still looks at money, he's lying to you. And then I've got to deal with being called a liar when I've gone out more than any human on earth potentially. So imagine you've been out for 25 years, more than any human in the world, taught more live programs than any human in the world, have the balls to teach out in the field. But you're being called a fucking liar. And then you used to be able to post footage that would show it, but you can't post that anymore. Do you know how frustrating that is? Give you a heart attack. It's frustrating as fuck. And then you're like, look at, just find the old stuff, okay, trust me. Okay, it's super frustrating. So you got to know frame, okay? Now let's take this full circle. I'm going to take us in a big circle right now, okay? We're going to, Trump, he calls it the weave. I'm going to weave together some points from earlier, okay? You guys excited about that? I'm going to weave together? Okay.
Can I ask you a quick question for
Mm-hmm.
that? So
Yeah.
Is it possible to be so far in your own frame that you risk being unrelatable?
Yeah, so guys, what he said is, can you be so far in your own frame you're unrelatable? Authenticity plus what? Authenticity plus what? Relatability. So that's a great question. So a homeless guy who thinks that he's seeing a goblin is in his own frame. That's too much. So a strong frame means that you have this powerful connectedness to objective reality while imposing your template on top of it. What a homeless person has is a template without the reality. It's a goblin. I like your question. Any question's great because that helps me clarify. Thank you. So yeah, so basically, I actually learned that from Neil Strauss. I remember I said to Neil, I said, what is cool? And Neil said, it's like, because in one way you have these really neat characteristics that you have, but if you do it just to entertain somebody, that's not cool, right? Like, say, for example, back in the day, Mystery does magic, right? So if Mystery does magic and he just comes up, he's like, I am a magician, and then he does magic. Does that make him attractive? If he's just like, I do magic, Does that make him attractive?
No, maybe. Not necessarily.
It's actually destroying his value. Mystery used to tell me, if I do an illusion, he doesn't want to call it a magic trick, by the way. He calls it an illusion. If I do an illusion and I get clapping, that means I fucked up. If they clap, that means I fucked up. Okay? If I get clapping, that means I fucked up. What he wants is shock and awe. So when Mystery does, here's another key point, okay? This is super potent what I'm giving you, okay? Like every one of these points, any one of these points could take a day or a week to process. Magic at its core is based 90% on image identity and presentation. Okay? So remember, if all that magic is I have a pen, I tell you the pen's gonna disappear, and then I put it in my pocket, and your brain made yourself believe it vanished because it processed it via your RAS, what do I have to do to make you believe that it vanished? Can I just walk up like random Joe Schmo, be like, hey, and then you believe it's gone? No. So how should a magician be in their identity to make that believable? Come on, guys. Mysterious. What else? Special. How did Mystery dress? Come on, guys. How does Mystery dress? He dresses in a way that's uncategorizable, right? He would wear big platform boots, a big top hat. He would wear makeup. He would wear weird like bracelets, you know. So you see him, it's like you're kind of like it's almost like even when he walks in the room, you're like, you know, right? It's like right. So he's already trance-inducing you by his identity. And then the way how does Mystery talk? Is he like, hey guys, and it kind of does a little bit now when he's older, if I'm honest. But when he's younger, okay, in his superpower era, still powerful man, right? But in his peak of his powers, I don't like to say that, but anyway, in the peak of his powers, he's still powerful now. How would he communicate? What was he like? How would he carry himself? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Guys, come on. How did he carry himself?
He's crazy.
How? How? Talk.
He's one of one.
One-on-one. What else? By the way, whenever I do this in a video, people at home go, why are you yelling at your audience to do that? Because I'm watching you space out. People at home don't see that the room is spacing out. I don't want to keep talking. If you're not able to, if you can't tell me what he was doing, then you're spacing out. So I'm trying to get you to stop spacing out. So I assume that a lot of people at home are spacing out because these are long seminars, okay?
Well, I saw him.
Okay, so when Mystery walks in the room.
I don't know who he was, but I saw him going up to women and just authoritarian, just, you know, putting his arm around them and bringing them over to the table.
Yeah, with consent, but yes.
Understand what that
Yeah,
was.
okay, so look.
And so these women were really happy, and they went over to his table.
Yeah.
He was flirting with them and whatever, and he seemed like he talked to me. He was a really nice guy.
Very nice guy. Watch this. He walks in. I am Mystery. How does he carry himself as he walks in?
Grandiose.
Grandiose. Regal. Right? Big smile. Huge beaming smile. You might have a woman here, or maybe here and probably more here and here, walking around the room, big smile as he walks through the room in social person. You see that, right? He's got the platform boots, the hat, the image. So right off the bat, you're like, who's this badass mega celebrity superhero, and what can he do? Well, now when he goes like that, your brain is primed to believe that he can do this crazy shit, and it works. Okay, everybody should experience great magic, by the way. Yeah, I feel weird about it because I'm trying to make the point of this without ruining the beauty of experiencing it. You should all go experience magic. It's incredible, okay? So he carries himself like that. Look, how do I carry myself in a room in here? What am I doing actively with you guys carrying myself in a room? How do I act? Do I look like somebody that gets paid a low amount the way I act? No. Okay. Do I look like somebody who dates average women by my behavior? No. So do you guys see why I say looks and money don't matter? Yeah. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Do you see how you can shift the way that you're carrying yourself? Okay? So I look like a leprechaun, but I act like the Giga Chad. But not even like a Giga Chad, because they're kind of, a lot of times they're kind of like a big German Shepherd, kind of chill. I act like a one-of-one. That's my goal. That's what I'm here to show you, okay? Now, when guys think it's their looks, here's what they're doing. They think they don't have the looks of the money. They are introverted. They don't make eye contact. They don't project their voice. They don't engage people around them. They don't have an identity as somebody who dates the most attractive people. They don't carry themselves as regal. They're not sufficiently grandiose. And then they walk up, they say hi to somebody, they go, hi, my name's Greg. It doesn't work, which of course it didn't work. Of course it didn't work. You're a 5 out of 10, walking up to someone who's a 10 out of 10, going, hi, I'm Greg. What did you think was gonna happen? Nothing. And then you're like, well, I was authentic. You said be authentic. Yeah, be authentic within a context, okay? And then, a girl, she doesn't shave her legs, doesn't shave her armpits, doesn't shave her pussy, doesn't shower. You could argue that's authentic. Well, that's who she is. She doesn't wear makeup. Authentic. Maybe she likes to shave her head. That's authentic. But in other words, that's called lazy. If you can't control your demeanor, that as a man, that's your version of a push-up bra or a dress or makeup or shaving your legs. It's your behavior, right? So if you're not going to control your behavior or take ownership of your behavior, why are you shocked that you're the male equivalent of a girl that won't shave her legs? Yep.
So,
Loud, please.
in terms of being like one of one, so how much of it is like what you're externally doing with your facial expressions, body, clothing, and how much
Massive.
inside your head?
Also massive.
Both, so 50-50.
Well, it's what's in your head as manifested by behavior. If you have it in your head, but you just sit there looking at the wall, then it's not manifest, it's not externalizing and discharging as behavior. So everything about you is powerful, chill and calm because you have what you need. Never selling yourself. Always the buyer and the decider. And it's deeply ingrained in your identity. Now, by the way, here's the funny thing too. Let me even show you a way that you can externalize this. Okay, so say the word passive frame control. Active frame control. So passive frame control looks like this, okay? Here's what passive frame control looks like, okay? Passive frame control is like, hey, what's your name?
Chris,
Chris, it's good to meet you.
good to meet you too.
Okay, so right now you can't see it, but Chris is profusely blinking. He's kind of nervous. His heart rate's elevating. He's overthinking it, okay? So that's passive frame control. I'm not doing anything. It's just passive frame control, okay? So if I just say, what's up, man?
It's good.
Right now, even if it's just 5%, he's still my frame.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. See what's going on there, right? So he's in frame, okay? Now, by the way, whenever I post clips of this on Reels on Instagram, there's always this chirping back. Oh, well, you're the one running the seminar. What kind of scam is that you're the one running the seminar? Of course they're in your frame when you're controlling the group. But guys, before we had to remove it, what kind of footage did I post? I was showing examples where people didn't know who I was. And frankly, I was controlling the frame more, right? It's funny because now I'm starting to do street interviews where I bring a mic and you know what everyone's going to say about those interviews, right? The interviews are going to be very illustrative. They're going to show a lot. But what's everyone going to say when I have the mic out? Actors maybe, but what are they going to say when I have the mic out in the camera?
Fake.
No, they're going to say it doesn't count. Why are they going to say it doesn't count? Because I have the mic, I have the light. And by the way, they're not necessarily wrong, but what did I used to post? The things that I'll be posting in those interviews are 2 out of 10 as badass as what I used to post without the camera out in the mic. But I've just got to soften it because we're in a different era. But people are going to say, oh, it doesn't count. They're going to say that. But it's what we're working with. It's what we got right now. I can do that. I've actually talked to the platform. They're cool with it. So I can actually do interviews. And I've got some already shot, and they're really fun. They're really cool. They're really cool. But obviously, if the camera wasn't there, it's a different kind of thing. But we're still able to show it, and I think it's very illustrative, so I love it. I actually love it a lot. So, but just a little different, but I love it a lot. But people will say that. So what I'm getting at here is passive frame control. What is passive frame control? Passive frame control. Hey, what's up? Watch. Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
What's your name, bro?
Alex.
Yeah, it's a shame because we should actually someday have a camera back here so you can see these funny expressions. But if I just turn him this way a bit, like say I just turn this way, okay, face this way, you're like, oh no, right? Alex, it's good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you, Alex.
Yeah, good to meet you, Owen.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, man.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Do you see what's happening? He's repeating me. He's mirroring it. Who's mirroring and matching who now? Who's more in their head? Again, people see a clip of this, they go, well, of course it is. You're the teacher. I've shot videos of this out in public where I was not the authority, and I get even crazier reaction, okay? How are you? Good, man. See, do you see that? Do you see how he instinctively matches the mirrors? Do you see that? He's in my frame. Say the word passive frame control. Passive. Okay, so passive frame control comes from identity level change. Say that. Identity level change. And seeing the world through your own eyes, not groupthink. Seeing the world through your own eyes, not groupthink. Yeah, right. So remember I said that when you see the world through your own eyes, you became a 10. When you're not in groupthink, okay? That's how that's functioning. But then you have actively running the frame. Want to know what that looks like? Okay. All right. This is fun. This is fun. Okay, so You're just gonna sit there like this with your thumb right there?
Yes, I am.
You're gonna sit there with your thumb. Why you got your thumb there?
I don't know. I just like it.
You just like it? You just like to put your thumb right on your chin?
Yep.
Are you summoning a demon? Are you trying to mess with the audience right now by just putting your thumb on your chin?
Yep, I'm doing a covert.
Oh, you're covertly messing with the audience.
Yep.
I trusted you. Do I not trust you? Can I not trust you not to put your thumb on your chin? What's that little face? What's that? What's that little face? He giggles. You see how he giggles? It's a conspiracy right here. You see that? Yep, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna admit it now.
Yeah, it's out there now.
How do you guys feel about this? How do you feel? What you guys see what he's doing to us? I actually, by the way, I actually do that. I enlist the people around. I actually do this. Like we'll be out and I'll start doing that, and I'll go, "What do you guys think?" It's super awesome. Okay, like. You're just like. Pretty much. You know why you talk like that? You know why I think you talk like that?
Why do you think
You're just trying to downplay a little bit, right? You just talk a little quiet. No, that's what you say no, right? That's the sneaky part. See how he says no? That's the sneaky part right there. Maybe. See how he says maybe? He admits it.
No.
You admit it.
No.
You admit you're sneaky.
You're being sneaky.
Why do you're gonna gaslight me now?
You're gaslighting me
You're gonna gaslight me?
in front of everybody?
You're gonna gaslight me in front of everybody?
I don't know. You started it.
You started it.
I did not.
Okay, so how did I start it?
I'm chilling. You're talking to me.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Do you have good intentions?
Totally.
Yeah?
Do you have good intentions?
Are you a vibe or are you stuck up?
Maybe both. What are you?
Okay, so what's happening? What am I doing to him now? Okay, so he's counterpunching. Say the word counterpunching. You did great, right? So so the way that you get around that is you would disacknowledge my questions and then assert your questions. Do you catch that?
Why are you wearing a red hat?
Perfect. Okay, yeah, so do you see what's going on there?
But how do you do this? So I saw that when you were doing like the nonverbals in that video.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing. It was like this playful.
Yeah, so try to follow, okay? This is really cool, okay? Try to follow
How
this.
do you do that with somebody you don't know? I mean,
Okay.
How do you get the confidence?
So what you do is you have the passive frame control, and then if you start making hilarious, don't make serious accusations, but if you make comedic accusations, then what winds up happening is they start going into your frame of trying to live up to your standards. You see that? If you just provoke hilarious arguments, then who is the judge and who is the one being judged? Think about this for a minute. Who is the judge and who is the one being judged?
The judge is whoever's running the OODA loop faster. So
Do you guys catch that?
you're trying to beat his OODA loop, or you're getting him back into a reaction.
Yeah.
Right?
So again, with the looks maxing stuff, which again, I think it's a fun hobby. I'm not dissing it. But what is that trying to do? That's like as if he is trying to win in my frame, but not setting a frame. So the looks, I think building up your looks is great for online dating. I think there's a lot of cool purposes, and I think it's a fun niche. I just think it's cool. But what I'm getting at is that it's not focusing enough on vocal projection, eye contact, body language, passive frame control, active frame control, and that process of leading somebody down a funnel. It's disacknowledging these things, okay? So the thing that makes you a 10 is not becoming a 10 by being better looking than a supermodel, okay? If you want to date a supermodel, you don't date a supermodel by becoming more beautiful than her, unless you actually can. Because some of those guys that work on the looks actually do. I think that's badass. I think that's fucking hilarious. But if you're not going to win, their game, don't play their game. Say that with me. If I'm not going to win their game, then don't play their game. Use passive frame. Use active frame. Yeah, and then another one is self-amusement.
Self-amusement.
Not reaction seek. So say things that you think are funny or opinions that you like talking about, but don't try to live into their frame, okay? A simple example would be, I remember when I was younger, I might be talking to a girl and she'd say, oh, I've been to Italy. And I'd go in my brain and be like, oh, I've been to Italy. I can't wait till she stops talking so I can say I also went to Italy. That's gonna build rapport. But what would happen was, and I was young and kind of autistic, maybe still am, and I would wait for the girl to stop talking, and then I go, I also went to Italy, thinking that would create closeness. But what is that doing when you're saying, I also went to Italy?
It brings you in, and they don't want to hear about you. They want to talk about that.
It's trying to live up to their frame, right? So what was happening was I'm saying I'm trying to win within their frame, okay? So this is all something I noticed when I've been in the gym. If I'm in the gym a lot and I start seeing all these other jack dudes lifting, I'm lifting and I'm saying, oh, I want to be jack like that guy. But when I go out, I get worse results. So I'm getting more fit by being in the gym. But as I'm in the gym, whose frame am I in some cases? I'm looking at these big jack guys, wishing to be them, believing that when I reach a certain level, then I will be confident. So ironically, when I've just eaten like a fucking moron, and I just partied and ate a bunch of carbs, I don't really eat a lot of like toxic foods, probably why I don't get sick, but I'll eat way too much, like, just too many carbs, and I get fat. I've done better fat in my own frame than jacked. Well, I've never been super jacked, but my version of my best shape that I got to, but thinking that if I hit a certain fitness level, it would help me. So what I've actually noticed, and I think this is a powerful epiphany, the guys with the best bodies in my experience in real life, not online, in a picture is different, right? In a picture, the more Adonis you look like, probably the better. But in real life, what do you guys think is the ideal kind of body type for a man? The ideal type, if he is fit?
Dad bod.
No, it's not really a dad bod, although I've crushed it a lot of my career, the dad bod. But what do you think is like the ideal bod?
V shape.
So it's closer to a swimmer's physique, but here's the ideal shape, in my opinion. What are the elements of that shape, and what does it communicate?
X-frame.
What's that?
X-frame.
What are the elements of it, and what does it communicate? The ideal body.
High status, working.
It's like low body fat but without trying that.
Say that last.
It's low body fat but without trying.
Yell that last part.
Without trying.
Yeah, so in other words, the guys that you can visibly tell are like meal prepping and OCD and kind of like a girl, like just trying too hard. That is often viewed, like say the guy gets too big, is viewed as a little bit self-qualifying. But a guy who just is like lean and has good muscle tone, so he's good looking, but it's not to the point where you can tell that he's obsessed with it. Those are the guys that I've seen crush it. Here'd be an example. Have you ever seen the guy's? I think the guy's actually bisexual, funny, but he has a gazillion women into him. His name is Youngblood. Youngblood. Do you guys know who that is? Yeah. Okay, so if you look at him, he's lean and he does have some muscle tone, but he's nothing to write home about. But he's really in his own frame. Okay, and that guy, literally, any environment he walks into, he's getting jocked, he's getting chased, and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you look at Youngblood, okay, it's spelled Youngblud. If you look at him, how much in his own, who here knows who he is? Put your hands up. Put your hand up. Okay. How would you describe his frame when you see him performing?
Yeah, he's just like...
Loud.
He's completely unique. Like, he's like nobody that you see walking around the street. He's just like one of those like emo punk dudes that doesn't give a fuck about what you think. Thinks like, he's like Liam Gallagher or something like that.
Yeah, but even more so. He's very rock and roll.
Yeah.
How does he move his body?
He moves like a bug.
Yeah, but he's moving his body in a way that's weird, but with complete confidence, right? Like when they actually teach dance, such as hip hop dance, they teach you to move with confidence, right? So when he's singing, he's like singing, like running around the stage, right, with complete certainty and confidence. When you mix that with social proof, like what he has, it's explosive, okay? It's explosive. If that guy wanted to just start hooking up, that dude could literally hook up with half the auditorium. 10,000 at a time. Not a threesome, a 10,000-some, okay? But it's a combination of the social proof, but the absolute certainty in his movements. He's expressive, but certain. That's to circle back, that's what Neil Strauss said to me back in the day. He said, it's like you're doing something cool, but you're congruent to it. If you're just congruent but not doing anything cool, you're boring. Okay? Say this after me. Just congruent is boring. Just congruent is boring. Just fun and interesting is fake. Just fun and interesting is fake. And self-qualifying. So you've got to be fun and interesting, but congruent. You follow that? Okay? Now, let me just show you another 2 key pieces just to kind of pull all these together, okay? 2 more key pieces. One of them is that you've got to have 10 level frame for no reason at all. Okay? Try to follow me here. 10 level frame for no reason at all. So if you're Tom Brady and you won 7 Super Bowls, That's not as good as just having a frame for no reason at all. Okay? Anyone want to take a guess of the scientific reason for that? Any guesses?
Because if he lost his rings, he wouldn't have the same confidence.
If he lost his rings, he would have the same confidence, okay? That's it. But try to watch this, okay? Somebody who sees the world through their own eyes is not going to be fooled by the bullshit. Okay? Repeat that after me. Somebody who sees the world through their own eyes is not going to be fooled by the bullshit. Okay. So someone who is in groupthink is being scolded, being told, be a nice guy, go be a little simp, and so on and so forth, right? Well, they're in the groupthink, so they believe it, right? But if you have access to seeing the world through your own eyes, and you see Youngblood, what if you can see the world through your own eyes, and you see Youngblood, what do you see? Bullshit. You see a man being screamed at and swarmed by 50,000 women. For doing what? For being for taking out the trash? For what? For being a good provider? What does he do? He just makes vocal sounds expressing while congruent with certainty and moving his body freely without neurotic holding patterns. Say without neurotic holding patterns. Okay? So he is free of neurotic holding patterns and he's using certainty, okay? And then what's happening is if you're seeing the world through your own eyes and then you're not in groupthink, you go, wait a minute, becoming an accountant and being a good provider doesn't work. Being this crazy idiot in front of a crowd does work. And so if your brain is functioning, you would see that club promoters and rock stars are doing better. Now, you say, oh, women like guys with a great jack physique. Does Youngblood have a great jack physique? No. He has a decent physique, right? He can take his shirt off. How about Justin Bieber? No. I actually happen to see Justin Bieber at the spa quite frequently. He goes to Voda Spa. So I see him running around his bathing suit all the time. He's a nice guy. Chat sometimes. So is Bieber mega jacked? No. Okay, so what's happening is, here's what it looks like, okay? Here's what's being signaled. The mega jacked guy or the mega rich guy is called, repeat this after me, king of the betas. King of the betas. So in other words, you are at the top of the heap, but within the beta frame, okay? It is the Bieber or Youngblood that are basically extreme versions where all they do is exhibit themselves freely without neurotic holding patterns, emanating frame and certainty, and emanating their rhythms and their views of how a rhythm should be. And that attracts, say the word, orders of magnitude. Orders of magnitude. It attracts orders of magnitude higher than a mega provider. Now, what you're thinking is, I hope, is, but I'm not Youngblood or Justin Bieber. I don't get to be in front of a concert doing that, right? You should be thinking that. Well, look, the truth is, you're probably not going to have as much attention as Bieber, okay? That's not wrong. But in the same way that you're probably not going to throw a good of parties Dan Bilzerian, Michael can show you how to run a badass party. You might not get the attention of Bieber, but you can still operate those same principles in your life. So how would you operate those same principles in your life, maybe at a party or a bar or a social gathering of the day or wherever? How would you use that in a realistic scale?
Having a big voice.
Guys, how would you do what Youngblood or Bieber does? What's that?
Move with certainty.
Move with certainty to be one. What else?
Frame.
Be in your own frame. What else?
Have everyone introduce you like you did.
Sure. Yeah, big intro is great. What else?
Non-reactive.
Non-reactive, right? Totally in your own frame. No neurotic holding patterns. Being congruent. Now, here's another thing. Youngblood or Bieber, are they being logical or pumping their own state?
Pumping their own state.
I want to say that again. Is Bieber or Youngblood being logical or pumping their own state?
Pumping.
Now, when you're in their concert or when you're listening to their song, do you feel better or worse? Better. Maybe you're not a fan of Bieber, I get it, okay? But I'm lonely, right? But you see my point, right? So what happens is high level, okay, elite level means that you've got a 10 frame, but it also means, now try to follow this, okay? This is like the key piece. So I said there's 2 key pieces, okay? Try to follow this, okay? And nobody gets this stuff. You're not gonna get it. I'm not saying this to sound unique. You're not gonna get this anywhere else. I hope someday you do. I hope this becomes common knowledge, but I've got to get this out before I die as a discovery for fucking humanity. So please listen, okay? So the first thing I said out of the 2 things, one is you've got to have it where your frame is strong for no reason at all. This, because the most attractive thing is the frame itself. Say that. The most attractive is the frame. So if you needed to accomplish something or to look a certain way to have frame, what does that mean about your frame?
Weak.
Yes. If you can see the world through your, so in other words, a frame dependent on something is weak. If you can see the world through your own eyes, when you see like whether it's a club promoter or Youngblood or Bieber or whoever, what they did is say the word self-select. Self-select. Say that again, please. Self-select. So in other words, they just walked up in front of a crowd and they started singing, right? If you just walk out and you self-select and you don't try to be better looking and you don't, no, you can, again, you can be better looking, right? Bieber probably cuts the carbs, you know, you could do it to an extent. But if you don't become OCD about it and you just do it for what feels good to you, you're not doing it to meet someone else's frame, right? Because guys, just to circle back, why is it that like the fairly lean and toned, but not overdone at physique, maybe not in a picture, but in real life, again, not in a picture, not on a dating website, but in real life, why is that better? What does it communicate?
You're secure.
What does it communicate? It's good looking without trying. Say that. Good looking. Yeah, so by the way, is there a way that you could just be super big, huge, and jacked and it would still be good? Yeah. There actually is, but what would it be? You love it. Because you love it. So in other words, if someone said to you, why do you get that big? You're not like, well, I gotta be big. You're like, I just love the way it feels, right? If you're like, just when I'm in the gym, I feel so good. Like if you do it truly from a place of no insecurity at all, then it's fine. If you make money because you love adding value to society, that can look good. But if you make money because you're the creepy old man with a Lambo, it looks bad. You see, you dig? Okay. So the first epiphany is that you have to have frame for no reason at all or it doesn't count. It has to be for no reason. But what does it imply about you that you had frame for no reason? What does it imply about you? Self-selected, but it also showed you this. If a guy like Bieber has no accomplishments and can just stand, now to be fair, he was plucked up by the system, okay? But just take it as an example kind of, right? Say Youngblood, okay? If a guy like Youngblood can just self-select, get up, start dancing around and expressing, and get swarmed, and he can do that without being a doctor, without being jacked, he can just do that. If you're seeing the world through your own eyes, and you're not in group think, what are you gonna realize? What are you gonna realize? There's a better way. When you walk, yeah, there's a better way, okay? If you're seeing the world through your own eyes, and some random guy just stands up and says, I'm not becoming a doctor, I'm not becoming a lawyer, I'm not getting super jacked in the gym, I'm just gonna do this, and then there's 30,000 women swarming him, if you see the world through your own eyes, what would you know?
How do I do that?
I know that you can assert frame for nothing. Say that. I would know that you can assert frame for no logical reason. I can just randomly assert frame. Caught that? Your mind should be going, boom, boom. If there's anything less than your skull exploding on the wall, you're not getting it, okay? You would see that you can assert frame for no logical reason. You'd get it. Can you jerk off without a woman's vagina there and make yourself come?
Yes. Yep.
How? How do you do it?
Imagination.
By repetition? Frame control on yourself. Yeah, actually that's it. You just frame control your damn self till you came. Okay? You can come in your own man's hand with frame control, okay? So think about this, okay? So if you can do that, okay? If you can do that, then basically what you realize is you can control frame for no reason. Now what we do as men, follow this. Follow. What we do as men is we wait for the excuse, the little doggy treat of living up to someone else's standards before we let ourselves assume frame. But in reality, needing to live up to a standard to assert frame puts you at a disadvantage over somebody who flips the table. Say the word flips the table. Okay, so if everybody else is like, I've got to look good, I've got to be rich to a certain frame, how do you flip the table?
You don't play that game.
I'm not playing that game. I assert frame, why? Because I'm that motherfucker. Because what?
1,000 out of 10.
1,000 out of 10. Yeah, there. Perfect. Yeah, you get it. I assert frame because what? Because I'm the man. Why am I the man? Because I'm the man. But why are you the man? Because I'm that motherfucker. Why are you that motherfucker? Because that's me. I'm him. I'm him. I'm him. That's why. Yeah. Because I'm that guy. Okay? The fact that you see the world through your own eyes and you realize that random idiots, random morons who have accomplished nothing tend to get more attention and better results than people that accomplish things shows that you have a strong frame. And the most attractive thing is the frame itself. More than muscles and more than money is a powerful frame. And if your frame is based on anything, that means you have a weak frame. Got it?
Got it.
Now, in addition, that was the first thing of the two things. The other one to tie up the loop is this. Within your frame, you control your own state. Because you control the frame, you can control what you focus on, which means you control your own state. So say, because I have a strong frame, I can control my focus, which means I have a strong state. Okay, so when I grew up, I was depressed. I was actually like suicidally depressed. Learning this stuff forced me to go from one of the most depressed people you'd ever see to literally the most even-keeled, happy person you'd almost ever see. It's insane. And that wasn't because I'm so happy or so perfect, but because I learned from repetition that when I allowed myself to become depressed, I got worse results. So I was punished for it. Okay? So I learned I can control my own frame. My cousin Dylan commits suicide. Not my son Dylan, but my cousin Dylan commits suicide. Why did he commit suicide? Maybe mental illness, but I don't remember him being mentally ill growing up. I think that he lost frame. Okay? You guys like, take a little farther, buddy. But what I mean is, he felt so depressed because I never saw mental illness from him. He was a Taekwondo champion, super smart guy, did construction, but like in Canada, it's a really cool job in Manitoba. Badass guy. And literally committed suicide. Why? Because he was looping. Look, I'm not a mental health expert, so I'm just giving my layman's interpretation. Doesn't mean I'm right. But I think if someone's looping and looping and looping on negativity, they can get in so much despair. But what you learn from going out is 1,000 out of 10. Who the fuck could the balls do that? Focus on something positive. You're controlling your focus actively. So if you control your focus actively, you can create a subjective reality where your RAS is more fun. So repeat this after me. I've got to create a subjective reality. Where my RAS selectively focuses on things that are more fun. So basically what starts happening is you start to just focus on things that are more fun. So the power in being attractive is that little, yeah, I'm him, right? Badass. Okay, did you see how I did that? Like just the ability to go, yes. Like just the ability to be like, fuck yeah. Like, watch this. Fuck yeah. Do that.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck, look at me. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking yeah.
Yeah.
I'm him. Yeah. Now notice that if you go, yeah, do it. Yeah. That feels better than if you made 10 grand. It actually does. Now, you could choose to make 10 grand and be like, yeah, right, like that. But if you just allow, so again, go make 10 grand for yourself, but don't need it for your emotion or frame. Because everybody comes to me when I say something like, you say not to make the 10 grand, but you make money. Make the 10 grand for yourself, make the 10 grand for you, but don't rely on it for attraction, or you wind up like my buddy whose girlfriend got fucked in the bunk bed by the 22-year-old. Okay? So what's happening now is that you're having frame for no reason at all. Say having frame for no reason at all. And then in addition, you're using your RAS to actively control your state, which is known as active state control. This makes your vibe something that people want to be in. Yeah, and then your frame is that you're certain of your vibe. Yeah, so like you start to believe that like just your unique perspective and getting to live in your reality is the value. Okay, your reality, say it, say my reality, is the value. But I have to curate my reality. Which I cannot do from groupthink. Okay, now what'll start to happen is as you come out of groupthink, you will start to have more of your own opinions on things. So most people, their voice is very monotone. because they have a very monotone voice and they don't project because they're in groupthink. So most of their lives is trying to harmonize their environment, okay? Say a monotone voice comes from not being myself. Yeah, so people get lazy, like, well, I don't talk like that. The real me is monotone. No. I don't even like words like the real you or authentic because it becomes confusing. The real you would actually have a rhythm to you. So do you guys see the way that I talk, the way that other instructors here have talked, the way Michael talks, is from it, like, it's kind of different than maybe how a normal person talks? Do you guys catch that? Yeah. So the way a normal person talks is without projection, and they're kind of like, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, it's more like that, right? To show that they're in the center, like, okay, try to follow this. Imagine that you're in a tribe, and there's like lions and threats on the outside, but if you hide in the middle, you're safe. Do you guys follow that? Yeah. If you hide in the middle, you're safe, so the lion can't eat you. So who would the bravest people be? On the outside, okay? It takes bravery, that's kind of somewhat analogous, somewhat not. It takes bravery to be yourself. It takes bravery. Look, if you're just like, hey, what's up? My name's Fred. I work at an insurance. Like that, that's very safe. No one will ever make fun of you. The way that I am is very easy to imitate. I'm very mockable. They mock me on stuff a lot, actually. Okay, they've mocked me on podcasts, big ones. I'm very mockable. So, but that's a good thing. If you're not being mocked, what does that mean how you're acting? Boring. You're boring, right? There's nothing funny to mock. So, in other words, you've got, as you start to have your own frame more and more, and as you start to dictate your own emotions more and more, you will have more of your own opinions, and you'll see things differently. Then what's going to happen is you're going to be talking with somebody, and here's what it's going to look like specifically. What it's going to look like is you'll be chatting, and you'll have active frame control and passive frame control. So you'll be able to make it work from a position of passive frame control. Hey, what's up? How's it going? And you'll get a lot going good like that. But you'll also, if you choose, engage in active controlling of the frame. Oh, you're like this, you're a scammer, you're a schemer, you're being crazy. So you can actively control the frame as well. And what will happen is now you're actively controlling the frame, and then you start joking with everybody around you. Maybe a guy like Michael teaches you how to show up at the club with 10 girls. Now you got Michael showing you how to come to the club with 10 girls, and then you're joking, and you're even joking with the people around you. You're clearly the fucking leader. You're dictating the frame. You're a 10, but really one of one, not a 10, really one of one. You are the one who's determining what the vibe is, and everyone is chasing your approval. You're now using social proof. You're now on your vibe, and you say after party or restaurant or trade social media or whatever. And because they're chasing your approval, they often want to go along for the ride. And if they don't, always has to be consensual, always has to be win-win, you wouldn't do it. But in many cases, they would choose to do that. So now what's happening is you've got a powerful frame, self-amusement, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the key understanding here. We've almost finished. The way that frame works is this, okay? Here's the mechanics of how it works. So basically what you do is when you go in, okay, do you guys want to understand how hypnosis works? Yes. Here's how it actually works, okay? When you're in a room, what you don't know that you're doing is this. Without knowing that you're doing it, here's what you're doing, without even knowing that you're doing it. You're going like this. Like that. What do I mean by that?
Reality.
You're trying to interpret reality. Where am I? What are the social values here? How do we act here? What is appropriate here? What is not appropriate here? Is there air? Is there a floor? Is there a table? Like, what's here, right? Your brain's always doing that. Okay, got it? So you're always trying to interpret reality. Doing that is metabolically expensive. Okay, say, interpreting reality is neurochemically expensive. Okay, I might have messed up the wording on that, by the way. Is it neurochemical? Whatever it is. Okay? It burns a lot of brain power. Okay, it burns brain power. So in order to save brain power, what we tend to do is we look to other people who are, repeat this after me, more certain, more congruent, have more social proof. Now, if we just look to others who have that, who is more certain, who has more social proof, we can save calories. Okay, our brain is like, 20-30% of our fucking calorie burn is our brain, right? And sometimes in nature, we can't hunt properly. You know, we have a dry spell with killing animals, or we don't get a lot of fruit and we die. We're always at risk of starving, right? So we're always looking to save energy. That's why you get lazy, et cetera, right? So what happens is, in order to save mental energy, we look to who is most certain and we fall into their frame. Got it? Okay? So by the way, with a lot of what I built, and also what Michael built, by the way, as well, what we've built, a lot of it's common knowledge now. A lot of it's actually common knowledge. Like a lot of the things that you guys see in the different YouTube channels, social media, is stuff that I invented, stuff that Michael invented. It's actually kind of common knowledge now. What was hard about, for example, when I created the blueprint? What was hard about that? Invented it. That was the hard part. It was it was cognitively expensive to see the world through my own eyes. Got it? So what happens is this. Say you're talking to a girl and she gives you a shit test, right? If you're used to being in groupthink, you fail the shit test. If you're used to being in groupthink, her frame wins out over your frame. But the reason why is because your brain isn't strong enough yet to support its own frame. Got it? Why is your brain not strong enough to support its own frame? Who knows? Come on, tell me why.
Comfort.
Not used to it, comfort, but why? How come your brain's not used to it yet? Because, okay, look, if you don't do a lot of cardio, can you just go do cardio?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but like, how does it pan out? Okay, if you don't lift weights, can you go lift weights? No. But how will it work out if you're not used to lifting weights? What happens? Do you get exhausted? Do you kind of suck? Okay, if you're not used to seeing the world through your own eyes, what happens?
Burn out.
You burn out. Now, by the way, you want to know the one thing? Okay, so you have groupthink, then you have seeing the world through your own eyes. You want to know the thing, the one level even harder than that? There's one even harder. You know what it is? Whew, that's it. It's seeing the world through your own eyes while still being open to feedback and mentorship. That's the hardest. Because another crutch, do you want to know what a crutch is? Instead of being a derper in groupthink, you want to know what a crutch is? It's when you have the epiphany that when you're just a fucking narcissist, 80% of people just believe you no matter what you say. Okay? Like, if right now, and you guys are mentally lazy, just said, fuck it, I'm going to block out reality, and everything's my way. Most sheeple would just fall in your frame instantly. So when you see that as a gimmick, you're going to be tempted to do that. But the problem is, as you do that, and just keep a certain frame all the time, and everyone's falling in your frame, what does that train you to do? It trains you to be a bit of a narcissist, and also what? To close off mentorship. Which means that you gain in frame, but at the loss of what? Feedback and objective knowledge. You lose the objective knowledge. It actually is even more cognitively expensive. You have being a derper in groupthink is one level. Being someone who sees the world through your own eyes is harder, but seeing the world through your own eyes while being open to feedback is the hardest. Got it? It's actually fucking hard. It's very hard. Because now what you're doing, follow this, okay? When you are just in groupthink and you're taking feedback, you are abdicating thinking. Say the word abdicating thinking. Abdicating. So you didn't have to think, which means you save cognitive load. Got it? Then when you started thinking through your own, seeing the world through your own eyes, that was more cognitively expensive. But now you're seeing the world through your own eyes and having to consider other people's feedback. That's even more cognitively expensive. Got it? No. So the way that you become a 10, which is really just one of one, that's a better way to put it, is you have frame, you see the world through your own eyes, and you put people into your frame basically by the following. Here's what it is. Follow this. Do you remember when I talked about when I get you guys, say you guys clap, how many people out of the whole room typically claps at the right time? 2 or 3. What are those people? What are those people? The non-group thinkers. They're the people seeing the world through their eyes. So they look at it and they go, oh, that was a great speech. I'm going to initiate a clap. I'm a leader, right? What does everybody else do? They follow, right? Michael is going to talk a lot about made choice copying. Why is made choice copying so powerful? Among many reasons, by the way, among many reasons. One of them is that if everyone else is going for Bieber, they're just in that frame, they go for Bieber. You catch that? You dig? Catching what I'm putting down here? Yeah. Well, everyone else going for Bieber. I'm just going to join that frame. Ah, Bieber. Okay? As Bieber's just confident doing his thing, right? Okay. So what happens is there's that confidence, okay? Now watch this. Here's how it works. Do you remember I said, because I talked about, I'm gonna show you how hypnosis works. You remember I said that you're doing this, breathing, this, determine reality? What happens when somebody else is more confident in their reality than you? What's the brain do to save mental energy? What's the brain do? Doesn't even check? Accepts the reality, complies. That's how hypnosis works. That's why hypnosis is way too real. What a great hypnotist does is they stop looking to they stop being the person that does this to clap, and they become the clap initiator. And they start asserting their frame, asserting their frame, asserting their frame, asserting their frame, okay? They assert their frame like fucking bonkers, okay? Bonkers. And what happens is their frame is so strong, like my buddy Marcel, his frame is so strong that he can go sleep and be able to pass out. You remember I said that you've got to take a night to think about that? This is the stuff that you should be realizing. He's so confident that what he did was he shut off the pinging. Let me say it again. Repeat this after me. He's so confident, he shut off the pinging. So what's happening is he's not pinging off people, he's seeing the world through his own eyes. When he does this for years at a time, it makes him a better hypnotist. But it's mentally fucking exhausting. Okay? Why is it exhausting for the first 2 to 3 years coming out of groupthink? Because you don't just get, you never use your eyes. You can't just go, like looking what to do. Now you've got to judge everything. But then it gets even harder because if you just become a full-on narcissist who just keeps putting everyone in your frame, you become delusional. You can't take feedback anymore. You become disconnected and you fail. You actually wind up failing. You actually wind up having a big downfall. So you've got to go to the next level and take feedback from mentors, but do so from a place of seeing it through your own eyes. You see that? But that's why frame will outdo looks and money, because what people are trying to do with looks and money is they're trying to give themselves an excuse to have frame. Do you guys catch that? They're trying to make themselves have an excuse to have frame. They're like, if I just had money, I could give myself permission to stop pinging. Said, if I just had money, I could give myself permission to stop pinging and relying on groupthink. I believe I'm at the mountaintop, so I'd stop looking to others for confidence. If I look good, I'd believe I'm at the mountaintop, and then I start asserting my frame. But what you can do instead, guys, is that you can just tell yourself that you're a 10, and if you believe it's strong enough, you can assert frame. Now, here's what you're going to think to yourself. Isn't it bad to believe that you're a 10? Isn't it bad to believe you're a 10 if you're not a Giga Chad and rich? Because now what you're doing is you're less motivated to get fit, you're less motivated to get money. That is partially true. That is a problem with a lot of guys that are amazing at dating. They wind up becoming broke and unhealthy. Many of them get so caught up in asserting their frame, they take drugs. A lot of these promoter guys just dance around, get high, and they're always in this narcissistic mode. They get laid like crazy, but their lives go to shit. That's why, because they're stuck at just the frame level and social proof level. They ruin their lives. So in a weird way, it can be healthy to say, no, I don't want to feel confident until I'm rich and fit. Do you see why some people resist the frame thing? Do any of you guys ever feel like if you just became 10 out of 10 confident now, you'd never make money, you'd never get in your best shape, if you just let yourself win now? Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But the problem is, even if you get to the top of that mountain, which you probably never will, it's still not good enough. So what you want to do ideally instead, which is hard, but ideally you have frame while getting rich and fit for what reasons? For yourself, okay? You do it for yourself. But then you cultivate frame and attraction as a separate thing. Okay, it's as a separate thing. Now here's the full loop, okay? So you're now seeing why using frame, you stop pinging and you set down the pings, but you're also open to feedback and open to mentorship from the best people in the world because you know that they've walked a path and they can save you time and save you energy. So for example, when you guys watch me do the speech, can you tell I've done this for a quarter of a century? Yes. Okay, so is it a good idea to come learn from someone who did it for a quarter of a century? Yes. I think it is. But here's what I'd say. If you're new to all this, you may need me to tell you looks and money don't matter. You need me to say it. And what you'll probably do is even go to your friends who disagree and try to convince them. Why are you trying to convince your friends? Because you need everyone to agree with you to believe it. You need the validation. No, I need it, right? So at first, when you're new, I provide a crutch. Because I say to you, you can do this. Did any of you guys ever see the old interaction footage I had, and you're watching this kind of like funny-looking leprechaun doing this? You went, wait, I could do it too? Like it gave you confidence? So that was a crutch. Is a crutch bad or good? It is actually
Good to start with. Temporary.
amazing as a start. So when I broke my leg, I had metal put in. Is that bad or good? If I broke my leg, should I have metal in my leg or should I not have metal in my leg? Okay, I have metal in my leg, right? Now, initially I have metal in my leg, which allows me to kind of do this. Ow, ow, but at least I can do it, right? But eventually, as I do this, what starts to happen? The muscle comes back, the bone comes back. I'm healing now. I'm going from coping to thriving. So what happens is at first you need a guru in many cases, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. I did, certainly. You need a guru, a lot of people, not everybody, to get started, to have that confidence. Because if you don't have that confidence, you get destroyed. But eventually you say, wait, I don't want to rely on the crutch anymore, right? So do you remember I started this speech by saying that when a lot of people like my stuff at first and then hate it, just like how my son Dylan's like, get the fuck out of here, motherfucker, I gotta do this. So when Dylan is saying to me, my son, he's out socializing, again, just to socialize, that's it, nothing crazy, and he goes, get the fuck out of here, Dad. What is he trying to do? What does he need, especially with a dad like me, by the way, imagine I'm your dad, what does he need to do for his development, instinctively? He's gotta go do this shit his damn self. You follow? You dig? He's got to do this shit his fucking self. If I'm there going, yeah, you're the man, you're good, like, what's that going to do? Crutch. It's a complete crutch, right? So I get him started, then he needs to go off on his own, right? He's got to go off on his own. But here's the thing. Once you go off on your own, now you've gone from, remember we said codependent, independent, interdependent, right? So what you do when you go off on your own is you sacrifice the knowledge, which is probably much better knowledge from the expert, you sacrifice that in order to build your frame, okay? So you sacrifice the expert showing you faster, better, tested, potent, laser sharp ways that took a quarter century, but you build your own frame. Why does that have to happen? It has to. You actually have to. You've got to throw the crutch at some point. Well, think about it this way, right? At some point, I can't just limp like this. I got to build back the damn bone, right? The next phase in development is building your frame. Why do a lot of guys get stuck at not having a mentor? They get stuck there. Because they're so afraid, or rather, let's take out the fear. They haven't built the cognitive strength to start receiving input again without devolving back into codependence. They're not there yet in terms of brain strength, cognitive strength. So if they keep building their cognitive strength, now they can receive feedback without losing winner effect. Like, you know when you feel like you're the man, your winner effect is high, your state is high, right? Your state goes down when you don't feel like the man. A lot of these guys, a lot of us, are in this place where we can't take feedback because it lowers our confidence. Our ego gets fucked with, right? But when you're truly, deeply confident, now you can come back with a 10-level frame, one-on-one, and go to the top experts in the world. And you go to them, and you take their decades of experience and your 10 out of 10 level frame, and you go to the best in the fucking world. You become one of the all-time legendary greats. But you'll never get there as a codependent, sucking the dick of a guru, although that's how you start and should. If any of you in here are new, come learn. Don't be afraid to be codependent. Come fucking, let's make this happen fast, okay? Make it happen fast. My friend Ty Lopez would always say this. He goes, y'all are learning too slow. Everyone's just learning too fucking slow. He would say the answer's not within. Like, you know how everyone's like, the answer and the truth is within. He goes, The answer's in a book, dude, okay? The guy that studied for 50 years is the answer's in there, okay? Like, shut the fuck up. Like, no, the answer is within. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. Building your frame is within. We have to learn not to be in groupthink from within, yes. But from there, if you can couple that with the best knowledge in the world, the chance to become a multimillionaire, the chance of being amazing socially, crushing with girls, being a great speaker, all those elite level skills come from mentorship, okay? But the mentorship is where you start. Then you spend a period where, almost like Jesus going into the woods for 40 days, 40 nights, you go off on your own. Like my son going, get the fuck out of here, Dad. He's got to do his own thing. I can't help him. Do you know how scary that is as a father? I can't help him. He's got to go do this on his own. I can't help him. Do you know what that's like as a dad? Can you imagine? Your son, you love him, you do anything for him, right? I can't help him. He's got to go take his hits. He's got to go on his hero's journey, right? Now, when he hits a point, now he will never see me the same. My son will never be able to see me as a mentor until he slayed his own dragon. Once he slays his own dragon, that will be, and he won't even look at my videos. Like Dylan and my sons, Tristan and my future children. Vincent, if he ever comes out, my son is autistic, but he may come out of it someday with medical technology. They will come back at an older age, and it'll be when they're older, and go, this was my dad? Holy shit. But it might be after I'm dead. And then they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be like, fuck, I should have asked, I had like a permanent one-on-one, fuck. But the thing is, it had to be that way, right? And the problem is with my sons, that'll be extra hard, is, let's be honest, if you don't outdo your father, how do you feel? If you don't make more money than your dad, if you don't outdo your dad, how do you feel? How do you think Bronny James feels? What do you think it's like to be Bronny James? You think it's nice? You think it's fun being Bronny James, LeBron James' son? You think that fucking is tough, dude? My sons probably will go into a separate field and have to slay their own dragons. And it will only be when they slay their own dragons that they come back as an equal. But here's the thing. When I hang out with Michael, you think that I'm playing some game that I don't ask him for advice? I'm probably his best student. That's true. And Michael might be my best student. You catch what I'm saying here? So at a level of confidence as men, you want as much mentorship as you can get, right? It's like, I'm at a point in my life, I'm like, just back up the Brinks truck to whoever can teach me. I just want to get there fast. I just want the fucking result. I don't need to build my frame, okay? I don't need to be cool about this, okay? I just want results fast. You know, if somebody spent 25 years split testing something, I want to go right to the top. I want results now, okay? That's where I'm coming from. And I can take on feedback. And then I can rapidly take feedback, internalize it, and I can change my life. And when you get into an upward spiral like that, now you're a master at cold approach, master at social, master at making money, master at making sales, master at public speaking, master at comprehension. Brain is turned on. But what's happening is that now you've trained your mind to be strong in your own frame and to see the world through your own eyes. But within that, it's not about making everyone be in your frame as feedback for your frame, because if you're just a narcissist and you're just making everyone listen to you, that's actually still groupthink. You catch that? No, this is a big, big piece. If I'm still partially tethered, say the word, if I'm still partially tethered to groupthink, say that.
If I'm still partially tethered to groupthink,
then my next evolution is I might get addicted to controlling frame.
I might get addicted to
Because this is actually what people with NPD do, by the way. They're continually farming NPD supply. You catch that? They're farming narcissistic supply. The narcissistic supply is people going into your frame, right? So the next level is you get addicted on farming validation by controlling frame. Okay? But you can't get mentorship anymore. And you can't see your reality correctly anymore. And you make big mistakes. When you can't see your reality correctly, it leaves open wild vulnerabilities. But if you can get past that, the way that it works is that your mind is so strong that if you were to scan it, look, I never scan my fucking brain. Maybe Dr. Amen could do this, okay? Change your brain, change your life guy does brain scans. But what'll happen is, this is what you're gonna notice with like really great teachers, really experienced ones. They can just riff like nothing. They can riff, they can control frame, they have what's called the chops. You know what I mean by the chops? They've got the speaking chops, right? They could just speak and speak and speak and speak. And do you guys understand how mentally exhausting this would be for someone who, like, doing the kind of speeches that I'm doing or that Michael's about to do? Do you guys understand how exhausting that is if you haven't built your brain up to that? Do you see how exhausting that is? Can you imagine how exhausting it would be? But by me living like this permanently, untethered from groupthink, but still taking feedback, that's a lot like being a runner who gets really good cardio and can now go do a 20-mile run a day and doesn't even do anything. How fun would that be? How fun would it, do you guys notice that if you get rejected when you go approach someone, it feels bad? That's because you're in groupthink. Imagine if your mind was so strong that no rejection ever bothered you because your mind was strong. Would you have the courage to go build that social media channel? Would you have the courage to go build a business? Would you be a great leader for that business? And could you make millions of dollars? We make millions of dollars by having a unique perspective. So if we have a unique perspective, we can make millions of dollars. Then what happens is, as we build this, we make millions. And this was why. Did you guys notice that many of these mega rich guys came through our trainings? This was why. A combination of persuasion skills, communication skills, building a frame, and the mind turning on, controlling its own winner effect, and being awake. This is called being awake. Okay? And there's layers to being awake, by the way, because we could go into the spiritual side. There's so much, what energies you're drawing into yourself. I mean, this goes deep. This is a deep rabbit hole. Would you believe me if I told you that we're covering the surface? How much would that freak you out? How much would that freak you out if I told you we're at the surface of this whole thing? We're at the surface of this, okay? If you train deep, imagine how much money you might make. Imagine the results you get in dating, whatever. Imagine if you went all the way. This is a deep area. I spent decades covering this. Remember I said that I don't need to sell social skills training if you just know how to sell anything? Do you see now why I became obsessed with this? Yeah. I became obsessed with this. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it because people often make money out of it. I'm obsessed because people often wake up out of it. Okay? It is unbelievable what's possible when you get this down. So do you remember I said that I like to get multiple ROIs from going out? This was my version of the gym was going out. So what I said was, people get into my content, then they hate it for a bit, and then they often come back, but as a man-to-man, and then that's when it really opens up. The real benefit of this content is not, I mean, yes, as a newbie, it's vital. It's life. As a newbie, this content is metaphorically life or death. It's metaphorically life or death, like literally, metaphorically life or death. But as a person who's able to think for himself, this content is the unlock to the world. It's literally the unlock to the fucking world. It's crazy what this unlocks. So, it's life or death when you're starting, but it's everything when it really opens up. It really is. Just what it does to the mind, what it does to the soul, what it does to how to make money, what it does to how to be at the cost, not the effect of your life, your ability to, your baseline ability to experience life in an authentic way is based on this. Otherwise, you're just in a trance. It's that important, okay? So I would encourage you guys to take this work very seriously. This is the work that's at the bleeding edge. This is not work that would ever be mainstream in personal growth. You couldn't mainstream this. If Tony Robbins taught this at Unleash the Power, I love Tony, by the way. Love Tony. Love Tony Robbins. But if he taught this at Unleash the Power Within, it wouldn't resonate. This is a niche-based teaching. It's very niche. I'll never get famous teaching this. It's very niche, although very timely with a lot of what's going on. And so it's very culturally relevant with what's going on. It's very niche. But if you're somebody who feels a calling to wake up and to be at the cause, not the effect, the last thought that I'll leave you with is this, okay? Here's what it is. The basis of the most profound spiritual teachings in the world, at its core, is becoming, and I'm going to give a couple things, becoming proactive, not reactive, and to finding a capacity to be a cause in the world and a first mover rather than a reactor, group thinker, and counter puncher. Okay? And let me leave you with this. You want me to really mind fuck you? Okay, let me leave you with this. If all that you're doing is living your life in group think, and all that you're doing is just wanting money, sex, or whatever, right? If that's all that you're doing, okay, and that's where you're stuck, are you any different from a cow or a pig or a fish that you would eat?
No.
because you're unconscious, right? There is one difference, though. You want to know what it is? You have the capacity to wake up, whereas a pig, can wake up to an extent, but not in the same way as a human, right? Some people might question that, but you know my point. I wouldn't say so, okay? So the thing is, do you believe that you have a soul? Do you believe that there's anything that goes on after you die? Many of the great spiritual teachings would tell you that not everybody has an afterlife. What would that mean, that not everybody has an afterlife? It means that you're getting it now. You're understanding. You're getting it.
Yeah, I know. I just.
What I'm really doing is I'm teaching you dating to save something much more profound. But you're not going to fully realize this till many years later. What happens is, you're getting it. Something is switching on. Okay? I'm not just trying to save your life here, guys. Okay? I'm trying to save something a lot more important than your life. So if you die, and all that you've done your entire existence is live within other people's frames, and you're basically an addict to groupthink, biological drives like I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm horny, I'm tired, basic addictions of the body, different little addictions that your body has, different emotions, addictive chemicals of emotions in your body, and just thought looping, and there was nothing proactive ever there, then what would even go on after you die? What would even continue at death? There's nothing there. You know how guys talk about women cheating, or even their guy friends fucking them over, and they can't figure out what happened? There was no one there. It was a reaction, a hypergamy reaction. That's all it was. You had conversations with an AI. But the bigger question is, are you an AI? Right? Everybody says that they wouldn't be the guy that fails the Milgram experiment. But if almost everybody does, what does that mean? And it's the guy who says, I won't fail the Milgram experiment, that will fail the Milgram experiment. Okay? The only way that you wouldn't fail is if you put a couple years into this. So something is going to switch on, okay? So when you learn this, something is going to switch on. And that thing that's going to switch on is a proactivity and a will that is a first mover. So now we said, like, God created us in God's image, okay? We are a creator species. We create. But when we're only creating within reaction, we're not truly creating. Now, I'm not even sure what I think of the Gnostic Gospels, by the way, but one of the most controversial sentences at the end of the Gnostic Gospel, it was something like, I'd have to look it up, that if a woman wants to go to heaven, she has to become like a man. And this was viewed as sexism. Women tend to fall into frames a little bit more easily than men, but actually do have an absolute capacity to wake up. Just that because of patriarchy and the way that things go, they tend to be more just falling in frames. That's why you can learn to be good at dating so damn easily if you just had frame. Okay? But when you know dating, you'll watch the woman beginning to match and mirror you when you have frame, and she'll even begin to, listen closely, she'll begin to create an entire personality just for you when you have frame. She'll literally build a whole person just for you that dissolves when you break up. So again, if that's what she was, what would continue when she dies? So I actually believe that controversial statement of, well, the girl had to become a man was a metaphor, but in truth, not all men even have that either. So in truth, we all need to work on that. But to have a soul, there has to be something proactive. It can't just be this little brain circuit just reacting to social conditioning, right? Saying what it's supposed to say. And so have you ever heard of an RAS flip? RAS flip is when someone's getting value from you and the value stops, and then they flip and just leave. You ever have a girlfriend where she was so into you, and then you lost value, and then her RAS flipped and she just left? That's because there was nothing proactive. So she created an entire personality just for you, and then you lost value and she left. Then the guy who that happened to will come online and go, women are cheaters and all that kind of stuff, right? And complain, not realizing that he himself also is, by a way of looking at it, not really, but by a way of looking at it, soulless. And he himself would do the same thing over money. The same guy complaining that women will be disloyal when you lose value will stab his friend in the back over money, not knowing what he's doing. And that's why Jesus says, forgive them, Lord, for they do not know what they do. They're unconscious. And when Jesus goes and wakes up the world, what do they do to him? They kill him because the parasitic consciousness is there to guard your greatness. And the parasitic consciousness works like this. Imagine if you're addicted to heroin, okay? You're addicted on heroin, and you have to shoot a needle to get on heroin, right? What have you noticed about heroin junkies? They have no will. Heroin junkies have almost no will. They're owned by the heroin. What if instead of having to have the friction of copying the dope, they could just do this and get high? What would happen? They would do that all day. What if instead they could just think the word heroin, and then they would get heroin? What would happen? Their brain would go heroin, 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 and it creates what's called a flywheel. A flywheel is when something gets faster and faster off its own momentum. So they go heroin, 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 and they go, like that, and they'd be fully unconscious. But you don't realize that same flywheel you're in now. It's just not for heroin. It's for regular stuff. Which means that that flywheel is blocking your actual proactive consciousness. So what I'm showing you is a teaching that is highly applicable to making cash, doing better with girls, everything. It covers everything. But it's meant to eventually, via the process of doing it, disrupt the flywheel. And what will happen is if you learn this long enough, one day you're going to just start crying and crying and crying. Okay, you're going to cry and cry and cry. And here's what's going to happen, because you're going to wake up. And you're going to come out of a trance, and you're going to go, holy fuck, I've been in a trance. And this awakening where you cry and you come out of the trance will accelerate and deepen when you call it within yourself. But you have to want it more than the stuff. They call that put the creator before the creation. And what's going to happen then is as you do this, that awakening is going to accelerate and it's going to deepen, okay? And you're going to wake up more and more and more, and then you're going to fall back, and you're going to go back into little ego and sex and money, all that, which is still good pragmatic stuff to have. And then what's going to happen is you're going to keep going down that path, and by the time that you hit middle age, you're going to be very, very, very awake. And from my perspective, there's actually a core essence there that when the body dies, it doesn't just vanish. So when I do this teaching, I'm not just here because I'm trying to just teach you the practical stuff, but I'll teach all of that. So you know what the cool thing with this teaching is? You don't got to sit there being broke and celibate while you become awake. You actually get to have some fun. You get to have bling. You get to be iced out. You get mansions. You get girls. You get it all. Okay. But what happens in the process of getting it, you wake up as well. Okay. And that was my teaching. That was my passion as I taught. Okay. But what I tell you is this: what I explained to you here, your mind can only process that which it can resonate with and which is an energetic match for. So if I look at you, like you, I can see you zone out because some of the stuff is not resonant. So in order to get to the point where you can resonate with the content, you have to raise your vibe to even remember what I'm saying. Because you probably remember that you enjoyed the speech, but if I said summarize the speech, you can't. You catch that? You can't summarize it because your mind won't let it in. So what you have to do is you've got to rewatch the video, and then you've got to go out, and you've got to walk the journey, and then it sinks in deeper and deeper. Then you'll have that period where you go independent, build your frame, you can't even look at it, and then you come back to it, and that's when you go full rocket mode. Making millions, crush it, like cold approach crazy, social circle crazy, totally at the cause of your life, everything amazing. This is the real personal growth. Not the bullshit like manifested, like, which is interesting too, but you know my point, right? Has power in it, but misinterpreted, okay? This is the real. This is the hyper real. This is the 25 years going against the grain, being ripped on, being dogged out, et cetera, and just like leaving no stone unturned, reading everything, studying everything, clawing and fighting to wake up. Coming from a frame that your soul is not something you lose, your soul is something you earn. And unless you go get it, nothing even exists at all, okay? And so that's the frame that I came at this from in this journey and clawed and fought for it. But remember that as you raise, you ever been walking down the street and you're like in a very high vibe state and a homeless person just starts cursing you out like a demon? Yeah. The parasite, which is that flywheel, wants to spread and wants the flywheel in reaction. That's why even when you get in an argument with somebody, flywheel. You're just pushing the flywheel when you see people having beef. What would Eckhart Tolle teach? Can I be the space for this? What would Jesus teach? Forgive. The forgiveness is the stopping of the flywheel. So everyone's like, I don't want to be a little bitch and forgive like Jesus says. No, you're not getting it. He's showing you how to stop the flywheel. He's showing you how to identify with the soul, which then allows the cultivation and growth of the soul. Okay? Now you're starting to cry because you're seeing it a bit. Okay? I see emotion in your eyes.
Emotion, yes, this is a good experience right now.
If you're not crying when you hear this, you didn't hear it. Okay? So as you go deeper down this trading, because what happens, you come out of trance. You literally come out of trance. You're like, oh fuck, like you see all this like people you got mad at, you see like how you were looping, you see how you're an illusion, you see how 90% of your life is a fucking lie. It's like, like you come out of it and you get super present, and then new levels of light can come in. You're like, whoa, like that, and then it kind of like, this pendulum goes back a bit, you kind of regress a bit, and then and deepens. And then you kind of come out of it a bit and deepens, okay? That's the way this is gonna work, okay? So it's a profound teaching. And how did I create this teaching?
25 years ago.
Quarter century, but here's how I created it. I had initially mentors, Mystery and many others. Then I went more independent and built my frame. And by seeing the world through my own eyes, I was able to see these things, like Blueprint Decode, all that stuff. And then what happened was when I came back and became a super avid reader and got better mentors, I began to accelerate. And as I put into practice the things that I learned from the best teachers in the world, that's when it took off. You see where I'm catching here? So I'm showing you how to have it just go like a fucking rocket. That's the real self-development, okay? But what I tell you is your alternative, if you don't learn this, is a life of hell for most people, because the groupthink works until what? Until it doesn't. And you can be a slave, but as Eckhart Tolle said, you can become enlightened in a private plane, or you can become enlightened in solitary confinement. But when are you more likely to become enlightened out of those two? You technically could become enlightened in a private plane with all the money. But are you likely to? No. Because the dream is working. It's when the dream breaks down that awakening is possible. And that's called an opening. And so when these openings occur, like you can't teach this to anybody when there's an opening. But when you hit the wall and the opening occurs, what happens is you're in so much pain that your will increases and throws a monkey wrench in the flywheel, the parasite. It's a parasite. It's a literal consciousness overlap parasite over your base consciousness, over who you actually are. You know, they say be yourself. This is the real be yourself, okay? So what happens is it disrupts it, and then you wake up. Then maybe you start seeing the world more through your own eyes because you're not in groupthink, building frame. But as you build frame, you become too arrogant. It breaks down again, and you wake up again. Then you go get advice, you grow, the dream gets good, you fall back in the dream, it goes sideways, breaks down, pain, wake up again. And this is life, okay? And it just keeps going forever. And most likely what happens, if I was guessing, is that core essence goes to another level where this process deepens and is in a context that you don't even have a context for. Like not this reality, a completely different reality. That's my best guess. So intuitively. So this is the real self-help, okay? Stop thinking within just your life now and start thinking within your soul, okay? And make a decision to go down the rabbit hole and to learn and to grow and to commit and to be committed to the real and the real, the hyper real, not the fake. Can you guys feel, like when we talk about this stuff, can you feel yourself at least a bit coming out of trance and coming into the hyper real, hyper lucid? Can you feel the hyper lucidity? Imagine living in a state of hyper lucidity. And as that lucidity enhances and grows. That's what I'm trying to show you here. But that doesn't happen just from meditation. That doesn't happen just from losing attachment. That doesn't happen just from abdication. That happens from life. Life is meant to give you the pain and challenge. It's meant to give you attachment, loss of attachment, ego, loss of ego. It's meant to be a ripper of an experience, like a movie. And via that, it becomes the sober psychedelic to wake you up. But you have to choose to engage with life. And our society encourages us just to be in groupthink and in a box, and then they do things like lock us down and put us in like this weird Rockefeller school thing, never teach us about nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't show us that stuff. We need to have nutrition support this process, alchemize it as well. There's so much to it, okay? We need to be in nature to alchemize. So what you think you want within the dream is sex or money. You think you want that. But what you realize, you want something much deeper. But here's the thing. We were put here to have sex. Catch that? We were put here to provide for our families. So if you abdicate that and abdicate the challenge of that, you never truly grow. So we have to take the journey, and we've got to build, we have to have a mission and a purpose which we throw ourselves into, and then undertake that process of alchemy. And that's how you achieve hyperlucidity. That's how you wake up. That's how you disrupt the flywheel. That's how you get out of group think. That's how you get out of just a narcissistic frame. That is how you get into the hyper real and proactivity.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is it
Loud though.
Is it possible to just be a 10, always a 10, like never like 0? Like
I can tell you this, it's 1 of 1, not a 10.
you can force it to be 10.
It's not a 10, it's a 1 of 1. And if you look at guys like myself or Michael, we're pretty much always the way you see on stage.
Yeah.
We're always calm. I've never seen Michael in a bad mood. Look, I probably have my moments here or there. Don't get me wrong, it can happen here or there, but it's very rare, okay? There is a stability that occurs, okay? The reward, bro, you know what's cool? Sometimes we can be black-pilled, right? We don't want to be white-pilled. What's the problem with being white-pilled? Everything's good, manifestation. What was the devil's biggest trick? Saying that evil does not exist. Was it evil doesn't exist? What was it?
He doesn't exist.
Yeah, tricking the world doesn't exist. Actually, you know what the devil's bigger trick than that is? Tricking that good doesn't exist. Right? You think there's never an exit. There is. Okay? Catch that? Good exists too. As evil rises, what else rises in parallel? What have we seen happening in recent years as evil's risen? What have we seen? Rising, right? So which side are you on? Catch that? So go down the rabbit hole, guys, okay? I come here, I give you the best I have. Go down the rabbit hole. See where it takes you. Life's a great journey. It's the greatest adventure on earth. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Greatest adventure on earth. Life's a great adventure.